Hidden across mountains, jungles, deserts, and ancient temples are secrets that time has barely touched, stones that whisper, manuscripts that record the stars, and artifacts that carry lost knowledge. In this journey, we'll uncover mysteries of civilizations long gone, their rituals, treasures, and enigmas waiting quietly to be discovered. Sit back, relax, and let's step into a world of forgotten wonders, one story at a time. The Whispering Stone of the Incas. In the high mountains of southern Peru, there is a place where the air is cool and quiet. Far from the busy towns and the crowded roads, this place feels untouched. Here among the slopes and valleys, there is a large stone that has puzzled people for centuries. It is called the Teotihuacan stone. At first glance it looks like a simple rock, but when you study it more closely, it reveals its complexity. The stone is carved with hundreds of small channels, pools, and steps. Some of the carvings seem to go nowhere, others spiral or branch in ways that are hard to understand. The stone is like a small model of a world, made entirely out of granite. People have wondered why it was made. Some believe it was a tool to study water, showing how it flows through canals and terraces. Others think it might have had spiritual or ceremonial importance. Perhaps it was a way for the people who built it to connect with the land and with nature itself, and some suggest it could be a form of knowledge that we no longer understand. It is easy to imagine the people of that time, standing near this stone. They may have poured water over its surface, watching it flow through the channels. Perhaps they used it to plan irrigation for crops, or perhaps it was a way to honor the forces that bring life to the land. For the Inca civilization, water was sacred. It was not only necessary for survival, but also a part of their beliefs and rituals. The stone does not speak, it does not move, yet it carries the memory of those who made it. The care taken in carving the channels and pools shows the attention and patience of the people who created it. Each detail is deliberate, yet the overall purpose remains a mystery. Walking around the site today, it is easy to feel the passage of time. The mountains rise around you, the air is thin, and the quiet is almost complete. There are no sounds of the modern world, only the wind moving over rocks and grass. The stone sits quietly, waiting, holding its secrets. Researchers have studied the Teotihuacan stone for many years. They have measured the carvings, analyzed the patterns, and tried to understand their function. Some think it was practical, others symbolic. Some suggest it may have represented rivers and terraces of the surrounding land. Others propose it could have been a map, or a model of how water interacts with the world. Yet no single explanation fully captures its meaning. It is easy to spend hours observing the stone. Looking at its channels, pools, and grooves, you notice details that were not obvious at first. Each time you look, there is something new. Some carvings are shallow, others deep. Some intersect, others end abruptly. The stone invites careful observation and patience. Imagining the lives of those who carved it is also intriguing. They had no modern tools. They worked with hand tools, shaping the granite slowly and deliberately. Perhaps they spent months or even years carving it, refining each detail. Their work reflects thoughtfulness and attention, even though we may never fully understand their intentions. The Teotihuacan stone is not just an object from the past. It is a connection to the people who lived in the Andes centuries ago. It reminds us of their understanding of the land, their respect for water, and their ability to create something that survives for hundreds of years. When you leave the site in your imagination, you carry a sense of calm. The mystery of the stone lingers, but it is not unsettling. It is gentle, quiet, and inviting. It encourages reflection, slow thought, and a deepening awareness of time. And so the stone remains, silent, still, and patient. It does not demand understanding. It does not rush. It exists, waiting for those who are willing to observe and reflect, offering a quiet connection to the past. As you picture the stone in your mind, the mountains around it, and the wind brushing across the slopes, your own thoughts may begin to slow. The mystery of the stone blends with the quiet of the mountains. Breathing becomes slower, and the mind begins to relax. For the Teotihuacan stone, perhaps, was always meant to do this, not only to show the past, but to help those who encounter it in the present, to pause, to reflect, and to rest. And now, as you imagine this quiet mountain, this ancient stone, and the flow of water through its channels, you can let your mind drift. There is nothing you need to solve, nothing you need to rush toward, only the calm presence of the stone, the mountains, and the quiet that has existed here for centuries. In this quiet, you may feel a gentle sleepiness coming over you. Each breath becomes slower, each thought fades a little, and as your mind follows the mystery of the stone and the mountains, you can let yourself rest. The stone does not change, the mountains do not move, but here, in your imagination, the calm and quiet can stay with you. You can rest in the presence of something ancient, something patient, something that asks nothing and gives only quiet reflection. The pyramid beneath the lake, Teotihuacan's secret. In the heart of Mexico, not far from modern cities and roads, lies a place that has stood for thousands of years. A city built long before the world around it knew its name, Teotihuacan. Its massive pyramids rise above the plains, silent and still, carrying the weight of centuries. But beneath one of these great pyramids, there is a secret, a tunnel, hidden under layers of earth and stone. For generations, its existence was known only to a few, whispered among archaeologists and local guides, and even today, it holds mysteries that have yet to be fully understood. Imagine standing on the soft grass of the valley. The Pyramid of the Sun rises above you, enormous and imposing. Its stones, worn smooth by centuries of wind and sun, seem cold to the touch. You notice a small entrance at the base, a tunnel that disappears into darkness. It is narrow, almost hidden, but the air around it feels different, cooler, quieter, older. This tunnel was not made for ordinary purposes. Scholars believe it may have served as a passage to a hidden chamber, perhaps a sacred space, perhaps a place for ceremonies long forgotten. Others suggest it could have been a symbolic journey, a path representing life, death, and rebirth. As you step closer, the details of the stone walls become clearer. The walls are carved with faint markings, almost invisible unless you are paying attention. Small grooves, patterns, and depressions hint at intention, as if someone long ago wanted these walls to tell a story that is still just out of reach. Inside, the tunnel is cool and damp. The smell of earth is strong. Water has seeped through cracks in the stone over centuries, leaving streaks and small pools along the floor. You might notice the way the light shifts when you enter, fading quickly, leaving only the faintest glow from the entrance. It is easy to imagine people moving through this tunnel in the past, carrying torches or candles, their footsteps echoing softly, as they performed rituals or explored the hidden chambers. The path twists and turns, sometimes low and narrow, forcing you to stoop, sometimes opening into small caverns. Each turn feels deliberate, as if the builders intended you to slow down, to pause, to think, and to reflect. Every step you take is measured, careful, as the past seems to whisper in the walls around you. At the end of the tunnel, archaeologists have discovered a large chamber. It is empty, yet full of presence. The walls, smooth and unadorned in some areas, show traces of past rituals in others, small depressions, faded carvings, places where offerings may once have rested. Some suggest the chamber was designed to align with celestial events, so that during certain times of the year, sunlight or shadow would illuminate parts of the walls in specific ways. It is hard not to feel small here. The chamber is enclosed, yet its design hints at something far larger than yourself. A connection to the heavens, to the cycles of the sun and moon, and to a civilization that understood much about their environment, even if we can only guess at the details. Over the years, researchers have debated what the tunnel and chamber truly meant. Some think it was a royal tomb, though no remains have been conclusively found. Others believe it was purely ceremonial, perhaps part of a spiritual journey for the priestly class. And some suggest it was a symbolic representation of a river, guiding water or energy through the city in a way we still do not fully understand. The more you explore the story in your mind, the more you notice subtle details. The tunnel is not perfectly straight. It curves, sometimes unexpectedly. The floor slopes slightly, and small channels along the edges hint that water may have once moved here. The stones themselves are carefully placed, each supporting the other in silence, enduring the centuries without collapsing. Imagine the people who built it. They had no modern tools. They used fire, stone, and human hands to carve a passage under one of the largest pyramids in the world. Their labor was precise, patient, and meticulous. They understood the weight of stone, the flow of water, and the alignment of the sun. And yet the purpose behind their efforts remains partly hidden, leaving a quiet sense of awe. Standing at the entrance today, you can imagine the ceremony that might have taken place. People walking slowly into the dark, carrying torches, their chants and footsteps mixing with the echo of the stone, offerings placed carefully along the walls, perhaps a priest leading the group, guiding them through the tunnel as part of a ritual that connected the living to the gods. Outside, the sun moves slowly across the sky. Shadows stretch over the pyramid, touching the valley below. Inside, the chamber remains in darkness, a quiet witness to history. You may notice the temperature difference as you move from the bright sun to the cool interior, the calm feeling that comes with entering a place that has been untouched for centuries. Even today, when the tunnel is explored, there is a sense of mystery. Sensors and modern equipment reveal faint cavities and hidden spaces. Water may still seep through the stone, and tiny air currents move gently, as if the earth itself is breathing. Every exploration uncovers more questions than answers. You can imagine sitting quietly in that chamber, alone, listening to the sound of your own breathing, feeling the cool stone against your back, the centuries of silence pressing softly around you. There is no hurry, there is no need to speak, just being present and noticing how small and patient this space makes you feel. The tunnel beneath the Pyramid of the Sun is not just a passage of stone, it is a reminder of a civilization that valued connection to the earth, to water, to the sky, and to one another. It shows their understanding of space, time, and ceremony. It encourages reflection and invites a calm that lingers even after you leave. The last gate of time, Aramu Muru. High in the hills of southern Peru, there is a place that many travelers pass by without knowing what they have found. A plateau, quiet and still, with soft winds brushing over the grass and stones. Here stands an unusual structure carved directly into the mountainside, a stone gateway. It is called Aramu Muru, sometimes known as the Gate of the Gods, or the Gate of Time. At first glance it looks simple, a single rectangular opening, carved into a rock face, tall enough for a person to walk through, wide enough to feel open, but empty behind it. No doors, no steps, nothing but a smooth carved stone doorway, standing alone in the Peruvian hills. The origin of the gate is uncertain. Some believe it was created by the ancient civilizations of the Andes. Others say it is far older, predating human memory. There are no inscriptions to explain its purpose, no carvings to tell a story. It simply exists, still and silent, holding the gaze of anyone who approaches it. Imagine standing in front of it. The air is cool, the sky wide above. You can feel the weight of the stone and the mountains around it. The silence is deep, almost as if the world itself is holding its breath. The doorway is precise and smooth. Its edges are sharp, yet the surface is worn by time, softened by centuries of wind and rain. Visitors often speak of a strange feeling here. Some say that standing before the gate brings a sense of calm, or even timelessness, the kind of calm that makes you slow your breathing, feel your heartbeat, and notice the world around you in a new way. Others say the gate is a doorway in more than just the physical sense. It is a place where imagination and reality feel closer, a threshold between what is seen and what is hidden. The legends around Aramu Muru are intriguing. Local stories speak of priests or shamans who would pass through the gate to access other realms, to communicate with the gods, or to travel through time. Some claim that the gate can transport a person to another place, another world, if approached with the right knowledge and intent. Of course, there is no evidence to prove this. The stories are part of the mystery that surrounds the stone, and yet they endure. As you look closer, you notice that the doorway is carved with care. The rock around it is solid, the surface smooth. No other structures are attached. There are no traces of walls, buildings, or rooms. It is alone. Its presence is quiet, commanding attention without force, and perhaps that is why it feels so profound. Walking around the site, you might see faint trails left by visitors over the years. The grass near the stone is worn in patches. Small offerings are sometimes left, feathers, stones, or flowers. People leave them in respect, or perhaps in hope, honoring the mystery that has stood here for centuries. The location of the gate adds to its allure. Set high above the surrounding valleys, it looks out across the hills and plains. From here the view is expansive, almost limitless. The mountains in the distance, the light of the sky shifting from morning to afternoon, and the quiet wind all contribute to the feeling that this place is older than history itself. Archaeologists and researchers have studied the area. Some think the gate was part of a larger ceremonial site. Others propose it had symbolic significance, perhaps related to the cycles of the sun, stars, or earth. Some even speculate that it was meant as a portal for spiritual journeys rather than physical travel. And while no definitive answers exist, the sense of mystery only grows stronger because of it. Imagine a traveler in ancient times approaching this gate. They might have walked for hours across the mountains, carrying little more than their belongings and their intentions. Upon reaching the stone they would pause. Perhaps they would kneel, touch the cool surface, and take a deep breath. Maybe they would step through, feeling a sense of change, of crossing a threshold, of leaving one world behind and entering another. Even today, the experience of standing before Aramu Muru can evoke similar feelings. Many visitors speak of a deep sense of peace, or a gentle clarity, the kind of calm that invites reflection, that slows the mind, and quiets thoughts. It is as if the stone itself encourages a connection to time, to the world, and to oneself. The gate is a reminder of the past, but also a mirror of the present. It shows that some things do not need explanation to have significance. It teaches patience. It encourages stillness. Its presence alone is enough. When you close your eyes and imagine standing before the gate, you can feel the texture of the stone beneath your hands. You can sense the wind brushing past you, the warmth of sunlight on the rock, the quiet of the hills stretching into the distance. The feeling is subtle, but it is powerful, an invitation to pause, breathe, and observe. Over the centuries, many have come to Aramu Muru, seeking answers, or seeking a connection to something greater. Some leave with more questions than they had before. Others find a quiet understanding that cannot be explained in words, and some simply sit, breathing, listening to the wind, letting the presence of the stone and the mountains guide them into calm and rest. There is a small pool nearby, fed by rainwater and mountain streams. The water collects at the base of the stone, reflecting the sky above. Looking into it, one can see the mountains mirrored, the clouds drifting slowly, and perhaps catch a glimpse of themselves in the water. It is a gentle reminder of reflection, of stillness, and of the passage of time. The gate itself remains unchanged. Storms, wind, rain, and sun have worn the stone, but it stands firm. Its presence is constant. Its mystery remains. It does not need to be understood fully to be powerful. And that is part of its gift, the ability to quiet the mind, slow the breath, and invite peace. The scepter of the forgotten pharaoh. Long ago, in the heart of ancient Egypt, a pharaoh ruled a kingdom whose name has been mostly lost to time. His monuments have crumbled, his tombs have been plundered, yet one artifact has survived, quietly holding the weight of centuries, a scepter, unlike any other. The scepter is slender and elegant, made of gold and rare stones. Its shaft is engraved with intricate symbols, small lines and curves that tell stories of gods, kings, and the power they wielded. The top is shaped like a falcon, wings slightly outstretched, as if ready to soar. The craftsmanship is exquisite, far beyond what one might expect for the time. Historians call it the scepter of the forgotten pharaoh. Its owner ruled long before the dynasties we know, in a period that left few records. Some believe he was a wise and powerful king. Others think his reign was short, marked by intrigue and conflict. The scepter is one of the few clues that remain, and it has sparked countless questions. In museums today, the scepter rests behind glass, under soft light that highlights its gleaming surface. But long before it was placed in a display, it traveled through the hands of priests, nobles, and possibly thieves. Its journey is a story in itself, a path through history, through temples and tombs, across deserts and sands, surviving wars and looting. The carvings on the scepter are not merely decorative, they are symbolic, telling stories that were once understood by those who held it. Hieroglyphs depict gods with human faces, scenes of offerings, and the passage of souls to the afterlife. Each mark has meaning, though much of that meaning has been lost over time. Archaeologists have studied the scepter for decades. Some suggest it was ceremonial, used in rituals to bless the land or protect the pharaoh. Others think it was a symbol of authority, a marker of legitimacy that showed the king's connection to divine power. There is even speculation that the scepter might have been a key, not a literal key, but a symbolic one, granting access to secret knowledge or sacred places. It is easy to imagine the pharaoh holding it, walking slowly through a temple, the golden falcon catching the light from torches, priests bowing, offerings laid on stone altars. Perhaps the scepter was used to call upon the gods, or to signify judgment, or to guide the pharaoh through ceremonies that bound his rule to the divine. One striking feature of the scepter is a small hidden compartment near its base. Some researchers believe it held a scroll or a tiny relic, long vanished. Others suggest it may have been used to carry sacred oils or substances, adding a sensory element to the rituals it participated in. No one knows for sure. The mystery deepens when we realize that this small detail, unnoticed by most visitors, may hold the key to understanding the artifact's true purpose. The history of Egypt is full of scepters, staffs, and symbols of power, yet this one stands apart. It is simpler than some, more intricate than others. It does not shout its authority, but rather commands attention through subtlety, elegance, and the precision of its design. It has survived not because it was obvious or grand, but because it was remarkable in ways that few understood at the time. In the deserts of Egypt, far from the modern cities, one can imagine the scepter resting inside a tomb, surrounded by treasures, waiting for the day it would be discovered again. Perhaps sand had drifted in, covering it for centuries. Perhaps the walls around it had collapsed, leaving only silence. And yet, even in darkness, its presence would have been undeniable. Excavations in the early 20th century revealed fragments of tombs that hinted at the scepter's existence. Local villagers had passed down stories of a golden staff that could call upon the gods, stories that were dismissed as myth. And yet, when archaeologists found the artifact, they realized the tales had been grounded in truth. The scepter had survived the centuries, silent but powerful. Its journey from tomb to museum has been careful but not uninterrupted. Scholars studied it, cleaned it, documented it, always mindful of the fragility of such an ancient object. Every mark and scratch tells a story of its long life, a life that has outlasted its owner, outlasted dynasties, and witnessed the rise and fall of empires. Looking at the scepter today, one can almost see the hand of the pharaoh that held it, the weight of gold in the palm, the slight give of the shaft, the falcon poised as if ready to lift into flight. And in those details, it is possible to imagine the connection between the king, the gods, and the people. There is also a mystery that persists even today. Scholars note that some of the hieroglyphs do not match known styles or timelines. They suggest either a regional variation, an early experimentation in design, or perhaps knowledge that has since been lost. It is as if the scepter itself is partially coded, leaving clues for those patient enough to study it, and concealing the rest. Imagine walking through a quiet gallery where the scepter rests. Soft light, hushed voices, and the faint smell of aged wood and stone. You can see the shimmer of gold, the subtle engraving, the falcon at the top. You can almost feel the presence of history, the hands that made it, the kings that held it, the priests that guided its use. The story of the forgotten pharaoh, pieced together from fragments, hieroglyphs, and surviving artifacts like this scepter, is incomplete. We can guess at his life, his power, and the rituals he participated in. But there are gaps, mysteries, and unanswered questions that make him and his scepter all the more fascinating. The scepter teaches something subtle. It is not a loud or imposing object. It does not scream for attention. Yet through careful observation and patience, it reveals details of a civilization, the artistry of its people, and the ways in which power and spirituality were intertwined. Perhaps the most remarkable thing is that, even after thousands of years, the scepter retains a presence. It tells a story without words, connects us to a time long gone, and allows us to imagine the life of a pharaoh, whose name has mostly been forgotten. Walking past it, studying it, imagining its history, that is where the scepter's power lies. Not in magic, not in ceremony, but in its ability to endure, to whisper history to anyone willing to observe carefully, to carry a connection across the ages. And so the scepter rests, silent, intricate, and enduring. Its story is incomplete, its journey remarkable, and its mysteries remain. Each observer adds a layer of understanding, yet the full truth remains just beyond reach, a fragment of history held in gold, stone, and careful craftsmanship. The desert ship of Karakoto. Deep in the vast Gobi Desert, where the wind carries the fine grains of sand for miles, there once stood a city that time almost forgot. Karakoto, the Black City, was founded centuries ago, a place of trade, learning, and civilization in the harsh desert landscape. Today, only ruins remain, silent witnesses to a world that once thrived here. Among these ruins, there is one artifact that captures the imagination like no other. Scholars and explorers call it the desert ship, not a vessel of water, but a structure carved from stone that resembles the form and essence of a ship. Its origins are mysterious, its purpose debated, and its story is as elusive as the shifting sands around it. Approaching the site, the first thing one notices is the silence. The wind moves over the sand, shifting dunes gently, whispering across broken walls and fallen bricks. The remnants of towers and gates peek above the desert floor, their stones weathered and darkened by centuries under the sun. And there, partially buried in sand, is the desert ship. The structure is elongated, smooth, and curved. Its sides rise slightly like the hull of a vessel, tapering at both ends. Some of the original carvings are still visible, faint depictions of waves, symbols, and what might have been inscriptions long erased by wind and time. At first, it is easy to imagine it floating across a sea, even though no water has touched these sands in centuries. Archaeologists have speculated about the purpose of the desert ship. Was it ceremonial, a symbol for the city's merchants who traveled across deserts instead of oceans? Was it a representation of spiritual journeys, a vessel to carry the souls of the dead into the afterlife? Or was it a marker, a monument designed to honor someone or something important, its meaning lost to history? Walking along its length, one can see how carefully it was carved. The edges are deliberate, the form balanced. Despite the centuries of erosion, the design is elegant. Whoever created it had skill, patience, and a vision that combined practicality with imagination. The city of Karakoto itself adds layers to the story. Founded during the Tangut Empire, it was a hub for trade along the Silk Road. Merchants brought silk, tea, and precious metals. Travelers from faraway lands passed through, leaving behind fragments of culture, writing, and artifacts. And perhaps in this context, the desert ship was a symbol, a reminder of travel, trade, or passage. Over the centuries, the city fell silent. Mongol invasions, desertification, and neglect turned it into ruins. Sand-covered streets, walls crumbled, and the desert ship was partially buried. For hundreds of years, the structure lay hidden, waiting for rediscovery. Explorers in the early 20th century stumbled upon the city. They uncovered fragments of manuscripts, pieces of pottery, and faded murals, but the desert ship stood out. Unlike other ruins, it suggested movement, direction, and perhaps purpose beyond the ordinary. It was more than stone, it was a vessel in spirit, a metaphor made real. Standing next to it today, one can almost feel the bustling city that once surrounded it. Imagine narrow streets lined with traders, the clatter of carts, the scent of spices, the murmur of foreign tongues. And amidst this life, the desert ship remained, silent, a marker of culture, artistry, and perhaps of faith. The carvings that remain hint at symbolic meaning. Wavy lines might represent water, stars, or pathways. Geometric shapes seem deliberate, aligned with the horizon or other structures nearby. Some scholars have suggested that the desert ship may have been used for astronomical observation, or as part of rituals connected to the heavens and cycles of nature. Exploring the site carefully, you notice small features that speak to the builder's intent. Subtle depressions carved into the stone, shallow channels along the edges, small niches that might have held offerings. Each detail is a fragment of a story, an echo of human presence long gone. One can imagine a ceremony taking place here, a priest or leader walking slowly along the length of the desert ship, hands tracing the carvings, offerings placed in the niches. Perhaps there was chanting or silent reflection. Perhaps travelers and city dwellers alike would pause here, acknowledging something greater than themselves, a force beyond the desert sands. The Gobi Desert itself is part of the story. Its vastness, quiet, and harshness shape the city and its artifacts. Sand moves with the wind, shifting daily, erasing some details and revealing others. The desert ship has endured, not because it is strong, but because it was crafted to endure, with design and patience that surpasses time. Even the smallest elements speak to its mystery. Tiny carvings barely visible, worn away by wind, hold meaning we may never fully grasp. The way the stone catches the sun in the morning and the evening, casting long shadows that move across the sand, adds layers of perception. The artifact is alive in its stillness, changing subtly with the hours, a silent companion to the desert itself. In the imagination, it is easy to wander further. Picture the travelers of centuries ago, crossing the desert, spotting the outlines of the city in the distance, the desert ship partially visible through heat, haze, and sand. They might have stopped, taken note, and moved on, or perhaps paused to honor the monument, adding their own small offerings or memories. Karakoto's decline adds to the allure. The city disappeared almost completely from maps and memory, leaving behind fragments and whispers, and yet the desert ship remained. It is an anchor, a reminder that human creativity, ritual, and symbolism can outlast entire civilizations. For those who explore it today, there is a quiet fascination. The desert ship encourages reflection, without dictating thought. It invites observation, imagination, and curiosity. Its purpose may remain unclear, but that mystery is part of its essence. It asks only to be noticed, studied, and appreciated. As the sun moves across the desert sky, shadows shift along the stone surface. One can trace the lines of the carvings, notice the small details that persist, and imagine the hands that made them. The desert ship becomes a bridge, not through space but through time, connecting the present to a distant past. Even as sand slowly covers parts of it again, the artifact remains. Its form, its story, and its mystery endure. And in this endurance, there is something quietly remarkable, a testament to human creativity, belief, and the desire to leave a mark upon the world. The desert ship of Karakoto is more than stone. It is a memory, a message, and a challenge to the imagination. Its lines, curves, and carvings carry fragments of a civilization long gone, yet somehow still speaking, waiting to be discovered, explored, and contemplated. The Mirror of the Moon, Tikal's hidden lake, deep in the dense jungles of northern Guatemala, hidden beneath towering ceiba and mahogany trees, lies the ancient city of Tikal, once the heart of a great Maya civilization. Its stone pyramids rise through the canopy, their tips often shrouded in mist, as if floating above the world. Among the ruins, far from the main plazas and stairways, there is a lake, small, quiet, and almost forgotten. Locals sometimes call it the Mirror of the Moon, for on clear nights its surface reflects the sky with remarkable stillness, capturing stars and moonlight like a polished silver plate. The lake is surrounded by jungle, thick with vines, roots, and fallen trees. Moss covers stones that once marked sacred boundaries. The air here is heavy with humidity, filled with the scent of wet earth and the faint hum of insects. Sunlight filters through the canopy in soft, shifting patterns, casting reflections on the water that shimmer like fragments of time. This lake was not always hidden. Scholars believe the Maya deliberately shaped it, controlling water flow, and possibly even building small retaining walls or terraces around it. Water management was central to Maya life, and this lake may have served both practical and ceremonial purposes. Imagine walking along its edge, feeling the soft mud under your feet. The water is dark, almost black, mirroring the sky. Tiny ripples move across the surface, disturbed by the wind or by fish below. Small birds dart between branches, and the distant calls of howler monkeys echo softly. It is easy to feel the passage of centuries in this quiet, contained world. Archaeologists have discovered remnants of steps leading into the lake, carved from stone, worn smooth by time and use. Perhaps priests or rulers entered the water for rituals. Perhaps offerings were placed upon its edge. Some suggest it was used for astronomical observation, with the reflections of the sun and moon helping the Maya track cycles of time. The surrounding ruins hint at the lake's importance. Small platforms, scattered stone altars, and fragments of carvings suggest that ceremonies may have taken place here. Glyphs on nearby stelae speak of gods, cycles, and water, though many are worn and partially undeciphered. The lake may have been a sacred mirror, reflecting not just the sky, but also the connection between the natural world and the spiritual realm. As the sun moves across the sky, the light changes. Early morning brings soft golden hues that touch the water in quiet streaks. Midday sun cuts through the canopy in sharp beams, illuminating leaves, moss, and the faint carvings on stones. In the late afternoon, the sky casts a rosy glow on the surface, and long shadows stretch across the water. The lake is alive with subtle motion, each moment different from the last. Some Maya myths suggest that water mirrors were portals, or thresholds, where the spirit could connect to other realms. Others speak of rituals that used reflections to understand the cycles of the moon and the movement of stars. While there is no concrete evidence for mystical use, the symbolism is compelling, and the stillness of the lake seems to invite reflection, not just of the sky, but of thought itself. Exploring carefully along the edges, you notice small details, pebbles arranged in patterns, indentations in the stone, and traces of what may have been small offerings. Every detail hints at human presence long past, and invites the imagination to consider the lives of those who once walked these paths. The lake's reflection is its most striking feature. When the sky is clear, the water perfectly mirrors the branches, leaves, and even the clouds. At night, when the moon rises, it casts silver light across the rippling surface. Stars appear doubled, floating both above and below. One can imagine the Maya watching this mirror in silent awe, reading the heavens through water, and contemplating the cycles of time, life, and destiny. The jungle around the lake adds to the mystery. Roots snake across stone ruins, vines drape over platforms, fallen logs partially conceal small artifacts. The sounds of the forest are constant but soft. The distant screech of a parrot, the buzz of insects, the whisper of leaves in the wind. The lake seems insulated from the outside world, a quiet pocket untouched by time, yet shaped by centuries of human activity. Archaeological studies reveal that Tikal's inhabitants were master engineers. Water management, construction, and ceremonial alignment all reflect careful planning and deep understanding of their environment. The mirror of the moon may have been a minor sight in the city, yet it embodies the Maya sense of harmony between humans, water, and the heavens. As you walk along the shore, imagine small canoes or rafts once floating on its surface, carrying offerings or participants in sacred rituals. Perhaps a priest carefully placed stones in the water, calculating alignment with the moon or sun. Perhaps children played nearby, unaware of the lake's significance, their laughter lost to time. Even today, the lake inspires curiosity. Its calm, reflective surface draws attention. Visitors note the way it seems almost too perfect. A natural mirror, shaped and maintained with subtle intention. Its stillness contrasts with the restless jungle around it, creating a quiet balance between motion and calm, past and present. Studying the lake, one can see the small details of its interaction with nature. Tiny fish move beneath the surface. Birds skim the water, leaving faint ripples. Leaves fall, twisting slowly before touching the mirror. It is a place that rewards attention, observation, and patience. Over centuries, the mirror of the moon has witnessed the rise and fall of Tikal. Its pyramids crumbled, tombs were looted, and cities disappeared into the jungle. Yet the lake remains, holding reflections of sky, trees, and history. It is a silent observer, carrying fragments of human life, ritual, and imagination across time. The hidden lake encourages contemplation, not instruction, not guided meditation, but gentle awareness. Standing here, one can trace the shoreline, study the reflections, and notice subtle changes in light, sound, and movement. The lake tells its story softly, through presence rather than words, history rather than explanation. Even as explorers leave, documenting and photographing, the lake endures. It mirrors the past, the sky, and the people who approach it, offering glimpses of connection without revealing all. Its mysteries remain intact, waiting for careful observation and imagination to draw them forward. The mirror of the moon at Tikal is more than a pool of water. It is a fragment of history, a reflection of the Maya's understanding of nature and cosmos, and a quiet reminder of human creativity intertwined with the environment. Its story is incomplete, but in that incompleteness lies its enduring fascination. Walking away, one cannot help but glance back. The lake still mirrors the canopy above, shifting slightly in the breeze, as though acknowledging the presence of visitors long after they leave. And in its quiet persistence, it continues to whisper the story of Tikal, a city, a civilization, and a people whose reflections endure. The oracle of the underworld, Delphi's breath, perched on the slopes of Mount Parnassus in Greece, surrounded by jagged cliffs and sweeping valleys, lie the ruins of Delphi. Once considered the center of the world by the ancient Greeks, Delphi was home to an oracle whose voice carried across generations. The sanctuary, the temples, and the treasuries speak of power, devotion, and human curiosity. Among its mysteries, one particular site whispers more quietly than the rest, a place known as the Oracle of the Underworld, or as locals sometimes call it, Delphi's breath. It is not the main temple, nor the sprawling theater or the stadium that draws attention here. It is a smaller shadowed area, a section of the sanctuary almost hidden behind crumbled walls and moss-covered stones. Here, in a small cave or fissure in the rock, ancient priests believed that the earth itself exhaled breath. The air was said to carry visions and messages from beneath the ground, the whispers of gods, spirits, and forces beyond mortal understanding. The ruins are quiet now, save for the occasional rustle of leaves, the soft shift of stones underfoot, or the distant calls of birds circling above. Fog often drifts down the mountain slopes, curling around columns and stairways, softening the edges of stone and blending history with imagination. In such moments it is easy to feel that the ancient voices of Delphi linger, carried in the mist. The oracle of the underworld is a study in contrasts. Rough, jagged rock forms the walls, yet within it the contours are shaped with intention. Small niches, depressions, and fissures suggest that it was more than a natural formation. Perhaps it was enhanced to focus the flow of air, or to carry sounds in ways that amplified certain voices or tones. Scholars have debated whether the cave itself produced intoxicating gases that inspired the prophetic visions described in texts, a combination of natural geology and ritual practice. Imagine a priest of Apollo stepping carefully into the shadowed cave. The smell of damp earth and stone is thick, the air slightly cool and moving as if breathing. Flames from a nearby torch flicker against the walls, casting long, shifting shadows. The priest sits, inhaling the subtle scents rising from below, listening, and then perhaps a whisper forms, faint, elusive, almost imperceptible, a message from the underworld, interpreted as prophecy. Delphi's breath was not only about speaking to gods, but also about interpreting the unknown. Ancient Greeks believed that the oracle could reveal the past, the present, and the future. Kings traveled great distances to seek guidance. Citizens of small towns came with questions that touched on life, war, and fate, and yet much of what occurred here was quiet, subtle, and layered in ritual. Prophecies were often cryptic, open to interpretation, and shaped by the listener as much as by the oracle. The surrounding ruins hint at the magnitude of Delphi's importance. Columns and stone platforms mark where temples and treasuries once stood. Carvings of gods and symbols are etched into stone. Broken fragments of statues suggest figures of deities once revered with intricate detail. Yet the oracle of the underworld remains modest, almost hidden, as if intentionally preserving its secrecy. The fog amplifies the mystery. It moves slowly, curling through narrow stairways and across collapsed walls. When the morning sun hits the mist, the shadows deepen, creating a world that seems half real, half imagined. It is easy to feel transported across centuries, to stand alongside those who came before, and to sense the curiosity, hope, or fear they carried with them. Archaeologists have studied the cave carefully. Geological surveys confirm that gases can seep through certain rock layers, and small depressions may have been used to amplify sound. Ancient writings hint that these effects were interpreted as messages from beyond, reinforcing the sacred aura of the place. Still, much remains unknown. The combination of natural phenomenon, human ritual, and legend has left the oracle of the underworld as an enigma, quietly holding its secrets. Imagine walking slowly along the edge of the cave today. The air is cool, slightly damp, stones crumble gently underfoot. A faint breeze drifts from within, carrying the subtle scent of earth and ancient use. The fog thickens in patches, shifting with the wind, softening the edges of columns and platforms. One can trace the lines of carved stones, imagine steps taken by priests and visitors, and feel the weight of centuries pressing softly against the present. Some texts suggest that the oracle's messages were intentionally enigmatic, shaped as riddles. Even when answers were provided, they were often paradoxical, requiring careful thought, reflection, and sometimes misinterpretation. This has fueled legends that Delphi's breath was both literal and metaphorical, a link between earth, human perception, and divine intention. Over the years, visitors to Delphi have shared stories of lingering sensations near the cave. Some report a faint sound, like a sigh or whisper, though no source is apparent. Others speak of the sudden chill in the air, or a shift in fog density. These experiences, though anecdotal, are part of the enduring fascination with the site, a place where history, geology, and imagination converge. Walking beyond the cave, the landscape opens into valleys and distant mountain ranges. Tumbled stones and broken columns lie among patches of greenery, each fragment a silent witness to ceremonies, prayers, and human activity long past. From this vantage, it is possible to see how Delphi was both a city and a spiritual hub, integrating the natural environment into the sacred experience. Delphi's breath illustrates the delicate balance between observation and mystery. The cave, the air, and the surrounding structures offer clues, yet reveal little directly. Its presence encourages exploration, curiosity, and reflection. Every step, every glance, every sound carries the weight of history, inviting visitors to consider not just what is visible, but what may lie beneath. Even as the fog begins to lift, revealing the outlines of temples and terraces, the oracle of the underworld maintains its quiet presence. Stones worn by human hands and natural forces tell stories without words, and gaps in knowledge invite speculation, wonder, and imagination. The oracle reminds us that some knowledge is incomplete, and some experiences are shaped as much by perception as by reality. Its whispers, faint and elusive, have persisted through centuries, drawing people to a small cave, high on a mountainside, to witness a fragment of history where humans sought connection with forces beyond themselves. Today, standing in the ruins, it is possible to imagine those ancient visitors, kings, priests, travelers, each drawn by curiosity or necessity, stepping carefully along paths, listening, observing, questioning, and interpreting. Their presence lingers softly in the fog, woven into the stones, the air, and the quiet of Delphi's slopes. The oracle of the underworld, like the ruins themselves, exists at the intersection of history and legend. Its story is told in fragments, in stone, fog, and whispering wind. Yet in these fragments lies its enduring power, a quiet testament to human curiosity, reverence, and the desire to reach beyond the known. Even as the sun moves across the mountains, casting shifting shadows through the fog, Delphi's breath remains, silent, enigmatic, and patient. It continues to hold the mysteries of the past, waiting for careful observation, contemplation, and the imagination of those willing to listen to the earth itself. The ice mummies of the Andes. High in the Andes Mountains of Peru, where the air grows thin and cold, and snow drifts across jagged peaks, there are secrets that the mountains themselves guard. Among these secrets are the ice mummies, the preserved remains of Inca children and adults, hidden in frozen tombs atop high-altitude volcanoes. The discovery of these mummies is as much a story of perseverance as it is of history. Explorers and archaeologists, climbing peaks over 6,000 meters above sea level, have unearthed these silent figures, wrapped in textiles, adorned with ritual offerings, and preserved by the cold. They provide a rare glimpse into Inca beliefs, rituals, and lives. Imagine ascending a mountain under the thin sun, the wind cutting sharply across your face, stones crunch underfoot, and the snow shifts with each careful step. Hidden in this frozen expanse is a burial site, almost invisible beneath layers of ice and rock. Here, centuries ago, the Inca brought children as part of the Capacocha ritual, a ceremony meant to honor the gods, to bring fertility to the land, or to mark important events. The mummies themselves are small, delicate, yet remarkably preserved. Their faces, frozen in time, seem to carry a serene stillness. Clothing and textiles wrap them carefully, embroidered with patterns that tell of status, region, and purpose. Some are accompanied by small figurines, food, or other offerings, carefully arranged as if to accompany the deceased into the afterlife. Archaeologists studying the ice mummies are struck by the details. Even after centuries, the careful weaving of garments is visible. Feathers, beads, and precious metals shine faintly under the light. The placement of the bodies reflects deep ritual knowledge, positions, orientation, and accompanying items, all chosen with precision. The mountains themselves play a role in the preservation. The cold, dry air, the high-altitude ice, and the lack of disturbance have kept these mummies intact. Natural mummification occurs here, but the Inca also took care to ensure that the bodies were prepared and honored, wrapped and positioned for centuries of waiting. Imagine standing quietly near such a site, the wind sweeping across the mountains, snow crunching softly. The mummies lie silent, witnesses to a world long gone. One can almost sense the lives they lived, children chosen for rituals, families mourning, priests performing ceremonies that connected earth, mountain, and sky. Some mummies show signs of careful sacrifice, which was considered an honor in Inca culture. It was believed that these children offered to the gods would act as intermediaries, blessing crops, cities, and people below. The rituals were precise and solemn, combining respect, devotion, and a belief in forces beyond human understanding. The archaeological work is painstaking. Every discovery is treated with reverence. Layers of ice and rock are carefully removed, textiles are studied, drawings recorded, and environmental samples taken. Even small details, a footprint in the snow, a twig near the burial site, can offer insights into the journey of those who climbed these peaks centuries ago. Each mummy tells a story, but the stories are fragmented. One child may have traveled from a distant region, their garments embroidered with unfamiliar patterns. Another may have been a local, offering closer ties to the surrounding communities. The differences hint at a complex society, where rituals were widespread and deeply embedded in culture. The mountains themselves are central to the narrative. Peaks like Luluyaco, Ampato, and Salcantay were sacred. Their summits were places where humans could connect with gods, where earth and sky met, and where offerings carried special significance. Climbing these heights was both a physical and spiritual challenge, reflecting devotion and understanding of the natural world. Imagine the ceremonies as they once occurred. Priests carefully prepare the children, adorn them with ceremonial clothing, offer gifts, and lead them to the mountaintop. The journey is long, exhausting, and dangerous, yet it reflects the Inca commitment to harmony between humans, nature, and divine forces. The mountain itself becomes part of the ritual, a silent participant and guardian. Once positioned in the ice, the mummies were left to rest. Over centuries, glaciers and cold winds preserved them, creating a bridge across time. Modern explorers uncover these figures with a mix of awe and solemnity, recognizing both the historical and human dimensions of the finds. The artifacts accompanying the mummies are equally revealing. Tiny figurines, ceramics, and textiles suggest a culture rich in symbolism. The placement of items, their composition, and the care and preparation indicate a society that valued ritual, spirituality, and the relationship between humans and gods. Even today, the ice mummies speak to us across time. Scholars examine them to understand health, diet, and lifestyle of the Inca, as well as rituals, beliefs, and societal structure. For those observing quietly, there is a humbling sense of continuity, life, death, and devotion interwoven with the natural landscape. The peaks remain silent witnesses. Snow and ice shift gradually with seasons. Winds sweep over ridges, carrying faint sounds of distant valleys. The mummies endure, frozen in stillness, silent yet eloquent. They are reminders of a culture that combined devotion, ritual, and understanding of the mountains into enduring practices. Standing near a discovery site, it is easy to reflect on the magnitude of human effort. Scaling peaks, performing complex rituals, and ensuring precise placement, these acts connect humans with nature, divinity, and each other. And despite centuries, the essence of these rituals persists, preserved by ice and memory. The ice mummies of the Andes are more than archaeological finds. They are fragments of human experience, devotion, and history. Their preservation allows us to glimpse a civilization that thrived, honored its gods, and left traces of life on remote peaks. They carry lessons of endurance, respect, and the subtle interplay between culture and environment. Even as glaciers slowly retreat and climate shifts, the stories held within these frozen tombs continue to inspire study, reflection, and wonder. Their silence is profound, yet it resonates with centuries of ritual, devotion, and human presence at the edge of the world. The ice mummies endure, silent and still, nestled high in the Andes. Their journey, from ritual to discovery, bridges centuries. Each figure holds a story of life, death, faith, and culture. And as explorers, historians, and observers approach these ancient guardians, they are invited to witness a fragment of humanity preserved by ice, mountain, and time. The manuscripts of the fire, Nalanda's lost library. In the plains of Bihar, India, where rivers wind gently and the land stretches in endless green, there once stood a city of learning so profound that its name echoed across Asia. Nalanda, founded in the 5th century, it became one of the greatest centers of Buddhist scholarship, attracting students and teachers from faraway lands, China, Tibet, Central Asia, and beyond. At the heart of Nalanda was its library, a place of knowledge, devotion, and curiosity. Historians call it the manuscripts of the fire, because centuries later, the library was consumed by flames, leaving only whispers of its greatness. The fire destroyed countless manuscripts, texts, and scrolls, yet the echoes of learning still linger in the ruins today. Imagine walking among these ruins. Broken walls rise softly against the sky, carved stones partially buried in grass, remnants of stupas and lecture halls forming a quiet labyrinth. The air is warm, filled with the scent of earth and history. You can picture students sitting cross-legged, poring over palm leaf manuscripts, copying texts by candlelight, and discussing philosophy in low, deliberate voices. The manuscripts themselves were remarkable, written on palm leaves or birch bark. They contained knowledge of astronomy, medicine, mathematics, metaphysics, and the sacred teachings of the Buddha. Each page was carefully inscribed with precision and devotion, often adorned with illustrations, symbols, and diagrams. They were not just books, they were vessels of human thought, creativity, and understanding. Nalanda was more than a university, it was a city of intellect. Courtyards connected halls where teachers debated the nature of reality, students memorized texts, and travelers brought new ideas from distant lands. Libraries like the manuscripts of the fire were central to this culture, places where human curiosity was nurtured, where questions were encouraged, and where knowledge was passed through generations. The destruction of the library is shrouded in legend and history. Invading armies set fire to the buildings, and the flames consumed tens of thousands of manuscripts. Chroniclers tell of monks trying to save what they could, clutching precious scrolls to their chests, only to be overwhelmed by fire and smoke. The heat was so intense that the manuscripts were said to have burned for months, smoke drifting across the surrounding countryside. Yet even in destruction, the spirit of Nalanda survives. Archaeologists have uncovered fragments of manuscripts, brick foundations of lecture halls, and the remains of stupas that once guided students on spiritual and scholarly journeys. These fragments offer glimpses into a world where thought and devotion were intertwined, where learning was sacred, and where ideas flowed freely across cultures and continents. Imagine opening a fragment of a manuscript. The text is faded, but the care in its composition remains evident. Tiny lines, drawn diagrams, symbols, each stroke a deliberate act of communication. Perhaps it describes a medicinal remedy, or a philosophical argument, or an astronomical observation. In each fragment, the intellect and devotion of centuries are preserved, quietly waiting for interpretation. The library itself was organized with intention. Rooms held manuscripts according to subject, one for philosophy, another for mathematics, another for Buddhist scriptures. Students would move between these rooms, copying texts, debating ideas, and learning from teachers whose names are now mostly forgotten. Even in ruins, the careful layout hints at a culture that valued order, clarity, and accessibility. One can almost hear the voices of the past in the quiet of Nalanda, teachers explaining the nature of the cosmos, students chanting passages to aid memory, travelers from distant lands sharing knowledge of stars, herbs, and languages. The manuscripts were at the center of this activity, fragile yet essential conduits of learning. The manuscripts of the fire also symbolize impermanence, a concept central to Buddhist thought. Despite the devastation, knowledge and ideas spread beyond the walls of Nalanda. Students carried what they had learned to other lands, preserving the essence of the teachings in distant monasteries and libraries. The physical manuscripts may have burned, but their spirit endured, carried in memory, translation, and practice. Exploring the ruins today, it is easy to imagine the daily rhythm of Nalanda, courtyards echoing with footsteps, scrolls carefully unrolled and read, the smell of ink, earth, and candle wax filling lecture halls. The atmosphere is one of quiet diligence, contemplation, and devotion, where every day brought a chance to deepen understanding of both the world and the self. Artifacts found in excavations reinforce this vision. Bronze statues, ritual objects, and fragments of decorative stonework hint at the interplay of scholarship and spirituality. Learning at Nalanda was holistic, intellectual, spiritual, and artistic. The manuscripts of the fire were part of this larger ecosystem, the tangible evidence of centuries of human thought. Even the natural environment contributes to the sense of presence. Trees and grasses now reclaim the site. Birds circle above, and sunlight filters through clouds, highlighting the ruins in soft gold. The setting evokes a sense of continuity. The earth recovers, but traces of human achievement remain, subtle yet profound. Studying Nalanda, one realizes that the loss of the manuscripts is both tragic and inspiring. Tragic because countless works of knowledge were destroyed. Inspiring because even fragments survive, and because the dedication of teachers and students ensured that knowledge traveled beyond these walls. The fire that consumed the manuscripts cannot erase the human curiosity, the quest for understanding, and the desire to connect with truth. The ruins, though silent, are alive with history. One can walk along the foundations of lecture halls, imagining students and teachers navigating corridors, discussing the cosmos, morality, or the nature of mind. Each brick, each carved stone, each trace of plaster tells a story of inquiry and devotion. The manuscripts of the fire, lost yet partially preserved, remind us that knowledge is both fragile and resilient. Even when physical forms are destroyed, ideas endure, carried forward by human effort, memory, and imagination. Nalanda's legacy is a testament to this resilience, a quiet, enduring presence in the plains of Bihar. Walking slowly through the ruins, one can feel the pulse of history, the rhythm of learning, and the dedication of countless individuals who sought to understand the world. The air carries a faint whisper of the past, the turning of pages, the scratch of ink on palm leaf, the soft murmur of discussion, the movement of countless lives devoted to knowledge. The manuscripts of the fire exist in this space between loss and memory. They are fragments of human endeavor, symbols of a culture that revered learning, and reminders of the impermanence of even the most treasured achievements. Yet, in the ruins of Nalanda, they continue to speak, quietly, patiently, and profoundly, to all who come to listen. The Temple of the Black Star, Chavin's mystery. High in the Andean mountains of Peru, where rivers carve deep valleys and clouds drift between peaks, lies one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites of South America, Chavin de Huantar. For centuries, this ancient temple complex has captured the imagination of scholars and travelers alike. Its stone constructions, underground galleries, and carved artifacts speak of a civilization deeply attuned to ritual, astronomy, and the hidden currents of the natural world. At the heart of Chavin is what modern researchers sometimes call the Temple of the Black Star. Though its original name is lost to time, the temple is not vast in the sense of pyramids or sprawling plazas, but its architecture is intricate and deliberate. Stone stairways descend into narrow passages. Walls are covered with carved figures, some human, some animal, some hybrids that seem to defy categorization. The effect is unsettling, yet mesmerizing, a place where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist. Imagine stepping slowly along the stone terraces, the air crisp and filled with the scent of wet earth. Sunlight filters through openings, illuminating carved serpents, felines, and abstract patterns etched into stone. The carvings are precise, yet their meaning remains elusive. Some scholars suggest that they represent spiritual beings, others think they are cosmological symbols, and some believe they are part of a ritual language intended for initiates. The Temple of the Black Star is notable for its labyrinthine design. Narrow corridors descend below ground, where stone channels carry water, and hollowed walls may have been used to amplify sound. Some researchers theorize that the temple was a place of sensory transformation, a space where vision, sound, and touch were carefully manipulated to guide initiates toward altered states of perception. As you move quietly through the temple, imagine the murmur of water running through channels, the echo of footsteps in subterranean galleries, and the faint flicker of torchlight. Initiates, perhaps only a few at a time, would have traversed these passages, listening to sounds and observing the carvings in low light. The experience would have been intense, mysterious, and transformative, a journey into hidden knowledge, carefully orchestrated by those who built the temple. The symbolism of the black star is uncertain, but it appears in the carvings and artifacts scattered throughout the complex. Some interpret it as a celestial reference, perhaps related to Venus or other significant stars. Others believe it represents a spiritual concept, an unseen power or force that guided the Chavin people. The name evokes both mystery and awe, a reminder that the past often communicates in symbols rather than direct language. Water plays a central role in the temple's design. Channels run beneath galleries and platforms, carefully constructed to control flow and sound. In some areas, the sound of moving water resonates through chambers, producing tones that may have been intentionally harnessed for ritual purposes. The interplay of stone, water, and sound creates a sensory environment unlike any ordinary building. Artifacts found at Chavin further deepen the mystery. Stone sculptures depict feline-human hybrids, snakes and birds in complex interwoven patterns. Each figure appears deliberate, their placement designed to create rhythm and meaning as one moves through the temple. Some carvings align with openings that let sunlight or moonlight strike in specific ways at certain times of year, suggesting astronomical knowledge embedded in the architecture. Imagine a priest standing in a shadowed gallery, holding a ceremonial object, listening as water echoes through the corridors, interpreting the sound, the shapes, and the light. Outside, the mountains rise silently, witnessing the rituals below. Within, the carvings and passages shape perception, guiding participants through a narrative of cosmology, spirit, and power. The temple's underground galleries are particularly intriguing. Low, narrow, and winding, they create an almost labyrinthine experience. The design may have been intentional, forcing movement and focus, heightening awareness of the carvings and sounds. Archaeologists speculate that these galleries were spaces of initiation, where knowledge was not simply taught but experienced physically, emotionally, and spiritually. The black star's symbolism may also extend to duality and transformation. Many carvings suggest the interplay of opposites, day and night, human and animal, life and death. Walking through the temple, it is easy to sense a deliberate narrative, guiding participants to confront the unseen forces that shaped both the cosmos and human existence. Chavin de Huantar itself was a center for trade, culture, and ritual. Pilgrims traveled from distant regions, bringing offerings and seeking guidance. The temple's design, both above and below ground, reflects an advanced understanding of engineering, acoustics, and symbolism. Its purpose was not merely ceremonial, it was a hub of spiritual, social, and intellectual life. The temple's stones have endured centuries of wind, rain, and earthquake. Carvings remain clear though softened by weather and time. Walking slowly among these stones, one can almost imagine the sounds, movements, and rituals of the past. The carvings seem to speak in silence, offering clues but never giving full answers. The surrounding landscape adds to the experience. Peaks rise sharply, and rivers carve valleys that carry the sound of water to the temple below. The temple was designed to integrate with the natural environment, a place where earth, stone, and water converge in a deliberate arrangement. Mountains, sun, water, and stars all participate in the sacred geometry of the site. Modern exploration uncovers fragments of ceremonial objects, stone carvings, tools, and offerings. Each object hints at human activity carefully intertwined with spiritual purpose. Scholars debate the meanings endlessly, yet the temple resists full explanation, preserving the mystery that has captivated generations. As the sun moves across the sky, shadows shift through corridors and terraces. Light strikes carvings differently at different times, revealing new aspects, emphasizing hidden forms, or aligning with celestial patterns. The temple was dynamic, not static, a place designed to change with time, season, and movement, reflecting the Chavin's sophisticated understanding of the natural and spiritual world. Walking slowly through the Temple of the Black Star today, one can feel both presence and absence. The stones remember rituals, the water carries echoes of ceremonies, and the carvings hint at knowledge beyond immediate understanding. The temple invites curiosity, reflection, and imagination, while remaining patient, enigmatic, and silent. Chavin de Huantar is more than an archaeological site. It is a story frozen in stone, water, and passageways. The Temple of the Black Star embodies the intersection of engineering, ritual, and cosmic observation. It is a place where human creativity and devotion meet mystery, a space that communicates subtly across centuries. Even as researchers study its stones and corridors, the temple maintains its secrets. Visitors feel the weight of history, the precision of design, and the depth of human intention. The Black Star endures as a symbol of knowledge, mystery, and the enduring fascination of the Chavin civilization. Walking away, it is impossible not to glance back at the temple's terraces and galleries. Sunlight and shadow continue their dance across the carvings. Water flows softly beneath the stones, and the Black Star, carved in stone and memory, waits patiently, holding the mysteries of the Andes for those willing to observe, explore, and imagine. The stone that drinks the sun, Machu Picchu's heart. High in the Andes of Peru, where clouds drift slowly over steep cliffs and the air carries the scent of earth and mountain flowers, there lies a city that has captivated travelers and historians for centuries, Machu Picchu. Hidden for hundreds of years in a secluded valley, it is a marvel of architecture, engineering, and spiritual design. Among its many secrets, one stone holds particular significance, the Intihuatana, often called the stone that drinks the sun. The Intihuatana sits on a terraced platform near the center of Machu Picchu. Its smooth surface is carefully shaped, carved with precision, and positioned in a way that aligns with the sun during solstices and equinoxes. The Incas, masters of astronomy and observation, used this stone as both a calendar and a sacred object, linking human life to the movement of celestial bodies. Imagine approaching the stone slowly. The terraces slope gently, stone stairways wind upward, and the air is cool with the faint scent of wet earth and vegetation. The stone rises smoothly from the ground, its edges worn by centuries of wind, rain, and foot traffic. Despite its simplicity, there is a quiet power in its form, as if it carries the memory of sun, sky, and human devotion within itself. The name Intihuatana means hitching post of the sun, suggesting its purpose, to connect the earth with the solar cycle. During solstices, the sun casts shadows that mark specific points on the stone, allowing the Incas to track time and plan agricultural cycles. But it is not merely a practical tool, it is also a symbol of the relationship between people, nature, and the cosmos. The stone's surface is not uniform. Channels, grooves, and carved depressions capture sunlight in ways that seem almost intentional, guiding shadows and reflections with a subtle elegance. Scholars have studied these features for decades, trying to understand how the Incas combined geometry, astronomy, and spiritual practice into a single silent monument. Picture the Incas centuries ago, approaching the stone at dawn. They may have performed rituals to honor Inti, the sun god, offering gratitude, prayers, or small symbolic items. The stone would have absorbed light and energy, becoming a focal point for reflection, planning, and spiritual connection. Each day the sun's movement was recorded and honored, forming a rhythm of observation, devotion, and respect for nature. The surrounding terraces of Machu Picchu enhance the Intihuatana's significance. Built with precision, the terraces channel water and sunlight, creating microclimates for crops and sustaining the city's population. The stone itself sits at the heart of this carefully designed environment, connecting architecture, agriculture, and spirituality into a harmonious whole. The Incas believed that stones could hold energy, and the Intihuatana was no exception. Some accounts describe it as a place where sunlight could be captured, a source of vitality for the city and its people. While modern interpretations are cautious, the symbolism is clear. The stone represented stability, rhythm, and connection between human life and cosmic cycles. Imagine walking slowly along the paths near the stone. Clouds drift between mountain peaks, sunlight shifts across terraces, and the city seems suspended between earth and sky. The Intihuatana catches the light at different angles, revealing new shapes and shadows with each passing hour. The experience is both visual and contemplative, drawing attention to subtle details and the movement of the natural world. Artifacts found near the Intihuatana suggest ceremonial use. Small offerings, pottery fragments, and ritual items indicate that this stone was not merely observational, but also a place of human expression, reverence, and interaction. Every groove, depression, and alignment may have had purpose beyond the practical, carrying layers of meaning embedded in Inca culture. The stone also invites reflection on the Incas' understanding of astronomy. They observed the sun, moon, and stars with remarkable accuracy, integrating celestial patterns into their architecture and agricultural planning. The Intihuatana is a prime example of this knowledge, a stone that embodies both technical skill and spiritual insight. Imagine a visitor centuries later, standing quietly before the stone. The terraces rise around them, clouds drift past, and distant waterfalls hum softly. Every detail of Machu Picchu, terraces, walls, stairways, and water channels, seems to converge toward this single focal point. The stone holds a story of devotion, observation, and harmony with the natural world, silently guiding attention and reflection. Even the mountain itself seems part of the ritual. Huayna Picchu rises nearby, its peaks casting shadows and marking the passage of time. The stone sits in alignment with mountains, sun, and sky, forming a natural and deliberate connection between earth and heavens. The landscape participates in the significance of the Intihuatana, reinforcing its role as a bridge between human experience and cosmic cycles. The stone's carvings are subtle, yet deliberate. Small channels guide sunlight, edges mark shadows, and depressions collect water or light, revealing both practical and symbolic understanding. Scholars have suggested that it may have served multiple functions, tracking time, performing rituals, and anchoring spiritual energy within the city. Walking around the terraces at Machu Picchu, it is easy to imagine daily life centuries ago. Residents tended crops, performed rituals, observed celestial events, and moved in harmony with the cycles of nature. At the center, the Intihuatana guided them, connecting city, mountain, sun, and sky in a delicate balance of observation and reverence. The stone also symbolizes continuity. Despite centuries of abandonment, exploration, and exposure to the elements, it endures. The grooves and edges bear witness to human hands and natural forces alike, preserving a connection to both the past and the rhythms of the natural world. Modern visitors approach with a mix of curiosity and respect. Scholars study it for technical and historical insight. Travelers observe it with awe, and quietly the stone holds its presence, capturing light, shadow, and imagination alike. It reminds us that some monuments are not merely visual, but experiential, objects that guide attention, understanding, and reflection. Imagine the sun moving slowly across the sky, casting shifting shadows across the Intihuatana. Every hour, the light interacts differently with the carved stone, marking time, changing perception, and inviting contemplation. The stone becomes both a tool and a symbol, practical yet profoundly spiritual. Machu Picchu itself surrounds the Intihuatana with harmony. Terraces, walls, stairways, and water channels integrate with the stone, forming a living environment designed to support life, observation, and ritual. Every aspect of the city enhances the significance of the stone, creating a dynamic interplay of human design and natural forces. Even in quiet observation, the stone communicates, not through words but through presence, alignment, and form. It is a testament to human curiosity, devotion, and ingenuity, a silent bridge connecting earth and sky, past and present. The stone that drinks the sun, perched at the heart of Machu Picchu, is more than an artifact. It is a focal point for understanding human interaction with nature, time, and spirit. It embodies observation, ritual, and cosmic alignment, quietly offering insight to those willing to watch, notice, and reflect. As the clouds shift and the sun descends behind peaks, the stone catches the fading light. Shadows stretch across terraces and stairways. Machu Picchu, high above the valley, holds its secrets in stone, earth, and sky, and the Intihuatana, silent and precise, continues to drink the sun, preserving the rhythm, devotion, and understanding of a civilization that connected life with the cosmos in ways that continue to inspire awe today. The sun disk of the pharaohs, along the golden sands of ancient Egypt, where the Nile flows silently through the desert, and the sun rises in brilliant arcs over pyramids, there existed a civilization fascinated by light, time, and the divine. Central to their belief was the sun, seen not merely as a star, but as a god, Ra, the source of life, warmth, and power. To honor this god, artisans and priests created objects of devotion, among which the sun disk stands as a symbol of celestial authority and ritual significance. Imagine a quiet hall in an ancient temple, deep within the complex of Karnak or Heliopolis. Torches flicker, casting gentle light over stone walls, carved with hieroglyphs. The sun disk, a circular artifact of gold or bronze, rests on a pedestal. Its surface is smooth, catching and reflecting the firelight. Around it, priests prepare offerings, incense, bread, small vessels of water, and chant prayers in low rhythmic tones. The sun disk was not a mere ornament. It was a focal point of ritual, a representation of Ra's journey across the sky. Each morning, the disk would symbolize his rising, bringing life and energy to the land. Each evening, it reminded the people of the sun's descent, the cycle of death and rebirth, light and darkness. The object served as a bridge between mortal and divine, a tangible piece of celestial devotion. Crafting a sun disk required extraordinary skill. Goldsmiths hammered and polished metal to a perfect circle. Sometimes the disk was adorned with rays, inscriptions, or symbols representing solar deities and cosmic balance. The precision in design reflected the Egyptians' profound understanding of geometry, symbolism, and the natural world. Every curve, line, and inscription was intentional, conveying both artistry and reverence. Now imagine the artifact in use. On a high temple platform, the disk catches the morning sun. Light spills across walls, illuminating hieroglyphs and paintings. Priests move carefully, holding ritual objects and reciting prayers. Their voices mingle with the whisper of desert wind and the faint lapping of the Nile. For the observers, it is a performance of devotion, observation, and cosmic harmony, a moment where heaven and earth meet. The sun disk also connects to the pharaohs, who were considered divine intermediaries. Pharaohs often wore solar crowns, adorned with miniature disks, or were depicted in hieroglyphs holding or honoring the disk. Their authority was linked to the sun itself, symbolizing life, power, and protection over the people. The sun disk thus embodied not just religious meaning, but political and societal order, bridging human rule and divine oversight. Artifacts like the sun disk have been discovered in tombs, temples, and ceremonial sites. Some disks are small, carried in rituals. Others are large, monumental, and displayed prominently. Each carries its own story: the hands that crafted it, the priests who used it, the pharaohs who revered it, and the civilization that centered its life around the sun. Consider a journey along the Nile. Centuries ago, farmers rise with the sun, guided by its light in their fields. Priests move toward temples to begin daily rituals. Children watch from courtyards as the golden disk glints against temple walls. The rhythm of life is synchronized with the celestial movements, and the sun disk is a constant, silent reminder of cosmic order. The disk's symbolism extends beyond daily observation. Egyptians believed in the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The sun's nightly journey through the underworld mirrored human existence, and the sun disk was a guide, a witness, and a blessing. It connected earthly life with celestial journeys, reminding the living of both mortality and continuity. In tombs, the disk often accompanied mummies, placed near the head, chest, or altar. It was thought to provide protection, light, and divine guidance for the journey to the afterlife. Its circular form symbolized eternity, a cycle without beginning or end, echoing the sun's perpetual motion across the sky. The craftsmanship is remarkable. Some discs are polished to catch sunlight precisely at sunrise or sunset. Others are engraved with hieroglyphs marking important dates, celestial events, or rituals. Small discs might be suspended in temples to cast reflections, illuminating carvings or statues in shifting light. The interplay of material, light, and position reflects sophisticated understanding of physics, observation, and artistry. Imagine standing quietly in an ancient Egyptian temple, hundreds of years ago, watching a ritual unfold. The sun disk reflects the dawn, casting golden light across walls and figures. Priests chant softly, incense drifts through air, and the Nile sparkles in the distance. Pharaoh's advisors observe, scribes record, and citizens gather outside the temple, sensing the harmony between earth and sky. Every gesture, every object, every sound contributes to an immersive experience of devotion. Even today, the sun disk speaks across centuries. Archaeologists study its form, context, and inscriptions. Historians interpret its symbolism, connecting it to wider Egyptian cosmology, society, and ritual practice. And observers, standing before surviving discs in museums or temple sites, can feel a quiet resonance, the continuity of human attention, reverence, and curiosity. The sun disk also reminds us of the Egyptians' holistic worldview. Life, nature, divinity, and governance were interconnected. The artifact embodies this integration. It is artistic, spiritual, functional, and symbolic at once. Through it, the rhythm of human life aligned with celestial patterns, seasons, and divine narratives. Imagine the sunset behind pyramids and desert hills, casting long shadows over sand and stone. Light glimmers off gold and bronze, echoing the journeys of the sun across the sky. The sun disk captures these fleeting moments, freezing them into tangible form. It becomes not only an object but a story, a memory, and a guide for reflection. Walking slowly through temples or tombs where sun discs are found, one can trace the meticulous work of artisans, the devotion of priests, and the attention of rulers. Each disc carries layers of meaning, cosmic, societal, spiritual, and personal. They are artifacts of a civilization that celebrated the sun as life, order, and eternal motion. Even in the quiet of modern museums or excavation sites, the sun disk retains its presence. Gold and bronze reflect light differently throughout the day. Hieroglyphs whisper stories of gods, kings, and worshippers, and the imagination of visitors, guided by historical knowledge, completes the experience, bridging centuries of devotion, observation, and creativity. The sun disk of the pharaohs is more than an object. It is a witness to civilization, a marker of ritual, and a symbol of eternal cycles. It embodies the rhythm of life along the Nile, the devotion to Ra, and the ingenuity of the ancient Egyptians. It invites observers to reflect, to imagine, and to feel the alignment of human life with the cosmos. As the desert wind drifts across ruins, as sunlight glints off sand and stone, the sun disk endures, silent yet eloquent. It carries stories of devotion, authority, and cosmic awareness, and across millennia, it continues to connect us with the ancient rhythms of Egyptian life, the journey of the sun, and the profound human desire to understand the world and our place within it. The sky stones of Africa. In the dense forests and rolling plains of Sierra Leone, where sunlight filters gently through layers of leaves and the air hums softly with the calls of birds and insects, there exists a mystery both ancient and silent. The sky stones. Scattered across remote hillsides and hidden valleys, these stones have puzzled explorers, scholars, and locals for generations. Their origin, purpose, and meaning remain uncertain, but they carry a quiet, enigmatic presence that draws the imagination upward, toward the skies. The sky stones are unlike ordinary stones. Some are smooth, rounded, and polished by unknown processes. Others are tall, jagged, and imposing, standing alone in open spaces, as if deliberately placed. They vary in size, some small enough to cradle in your hands, others large enough to require effort and ingenuity to move. Each stone seems deliberate, as though it were part of a larger unseen design. Walking through the landscapes where these stones appear, one notices a peculiar harmony. Stones are often aligned in ways that suggest intentional arrangement. Some form lines pointing to distant peaks or river bends. Others cluster in circular formations, reminiscent of gatherings or ceremonial spaces. The patterns hint at knowledge, skill, and a purpose that has been lost to time. Local folklore adds to the intrigue. Villagers tell stories of stones that fell from the sky, of spirits who guided their placement, or of ancient peoples who could read the movements of the heavens through them. Some believe the stones were used to predict celestial events, while others suggest they were markers of sacred sites. The tales blend observation, imagination, and reverence, creating a rich tapestry of meaning that echoes through generations. Imagine walking slowly along a hillside, dotted with sky stones. The air is cool, and the ground soft beneath your feet. Shadows stretch across the stones as sunlight moves across the landscape. Birds circle high above, their cries punctuating the quiet rhythm of nature. Each stone you pass has a story, visible only to the imagination, whispered by its placement and shape. The stones are often carved, though not always obviously. Subtle grooves, indentations, and markings suggest human hands at work. Some resemble tools, others abstract shapes. Their purpose is elusive. Were they functional, ceremonial, or symbolic? Were they calendars, astronomical markers, or expressions of spiritual belief? Scholars have proposed many theories, yet none fully explains their presence. The largest stones often command attention. Imagine standing before one that rises several meters into the air. Its surface is worn but intact, bearing subtle lines that hint at design or intention. The stone seems to anchor the landscape, drawing the eye upward, inviting reflection, and evoking a sense of connection between earth and sky. Archaeologists have studied these stones carefully. Excavations nearby reveal evidence of settlements, tools, and pottery, suggesting that ancient peoples interacted with them intentionally. Some stones appear near ritual sites, burial grounds, or places where water gathers. Others are isolated, raising questions about their selection, placement, and meaning. Consider the possibility that these stones were observatories. Ancient peoples may have tracked the movement of the sun, moon, and stars, using the stones as reference points. Shadows and light patterns could have indicated seasonal changes, guiding planting, harvesting, and ceremonies. Even without modern instruments, these stones may have connected people to cosmic cycles, weather patterns, and time itself. Walking slowly among the stones, one can sense a rhythm. Perhaps it is the rhythm of nature, or perhaps the rhythm imposed by ancient hands. Either way, the stones create a subtle narrative, a map of thought and observation carved into the landscape. Each stone contributes a chapter to this story, though the story itself is never fully revealed. The surrounding environment reinforces their significance. Hills rise and fall, rivers wind gently, and forests shelter the stones. Seasonal changes alter the way light interacts with them. Rain fills small depressions, reflecting sky and clouds. Wind whispers through the trees, carrying sound and scent across the landscape. The stones exist in harmony with their surroundings, as if designed to enhance awareness of nature, sky, and self. Some researchers suggest the stones were used in rituals, not solely for observation, but for spiritual connection. Ceremonies may have involved offerings, music, chanting, or silent contemplation. The stones could have served as anchors for focus, connecting participants to the natural and celestial worlds. The precise methods and meanings remain lost, but the suggestion of intentionality persists. Imagine the sun rising behind a distant ridge, light spilling across a field of sky stones. Shadows shift, alignments emerge, and reflections glimmer in small puddles. Each moment offers a subtle transformation, a new perspective on shapes, patterns, and spatial relationships. The landscape becomes a living tableau, inviting observation, reflection, and imagination. The stone's mystery also lies in their endurance. Weather, erosion, and human activity have left marks, yet the stones persist. They continue to rise from the earth, quiet witnesses to centuries of change, silent storytellers of a time when humans sought to understand their place in the cosmos. Even in quiet contemplation, the sky stones provoke curiosity. What knowledge did ancient peoples possess? What ceremonies took place here? How did they interact with the land, sky, and community? Every stone prompts questions, but none provides definitive answers. The ambiguity is part of their enduring fascination. Walking among them, one may notice small details, a carved groove catching sunlight, a subtle indentation suggesting purpose, the orientation of a cluster pointing toward a distant peak. These details, combined with the natural setting, create an experience both meditative and intellectually stimulating, where imagination and observation converge. Local traditions continue to honor these stones. Some communities maintain rituals, storytelling, or pilgrimages associated with them. These practices reinforce the connection between human life, the landscape, and the stones, linking past and present in subtle, ongoing ways. Even as modern researchers study the stones using mapping, photogrammetry, and archaeology, much remains uncertain. The stones resist full explanation, maintaining a balance between revelation and mystery. They are artifacts that ask questions rather than provide answers, inviting curiosity and reflection. The sky stones of Sierra Leone are not merely objects of stone, they are markers of human thought, observation, and spirituality. They embody interaction with landscape and sky, awareness of cosmic patterns, and devotion to understanding the natural and spiritual worlds. Imagine standing quietly among them at twilight. Shadows lengthen, colors soften, and the air carries a gentle coolness. The stones, silent yet resonant, seem to hum with history, memory, and intention. Every shape, line, and placement hints at a civilization seeking to connect earth and sky, human and cosmic, past and present. Even after centuries, the sky stones retain their power to evoke wonder. They are both tangible and elusive, grounding observers in the landscape while inviting contemplation of the vast, unseen forces above. They continue to inspire curiosity, reflection, and awe, silently bridging time, space, and imagination. The frozen library of Siberia. Far in the northern reaches of Siberia, where the land stretches endlessly under pale skies and the wind whispers across frozen forests, there exists a hidden treasure that few have ever seen, the frozen library of Siberia. Buried within ice caves, it is a collection of manuscripts, scrolls, and fragile parchments that have survived for centuries, preserved in the cold and solitude of the tundra. The entrance to the ice cave is unassuming. A low arch of frost-covered stone leads into a passage where sunlight barely penetrates. As you step inside, the temperature drops, and the air is crisp and still. The walls glimmer with frozen patterns, light refracting through ice, creating a quiet, surreal atmosphere. It is a place suspended between past and present, where silence holds centuries of knowledge. Within the cave, manuscripts rest upon stone shelves carved into the ice, or on natural ledges where frost has thickened over time. Scrolls of animal skin, bundles of bark paper, and inked parchments remain remarkably intact. The cold has slowed decay, preserving fragile symbols, written words, and illustrations that speak of a time long gone. Imagine opening a scroll slowly. The parchment crackles faintly, and the ink, though faded, tells stories of distant civilizations, spiritual practices, and knowledge of the natural world. Some manuscripts contain astronomical observations, maps, or instructions for rituals. Others record myths, folklore, and philosophical reflections. Each page is a whisper from the past, a quiet testimony of human thought, frozen in time. The manuscripts are not all of one culture. Siberia has been home to nomadic tribes, traders, and travelers from distant lands. Evidence suggests that the frozen library may have been a gathering place for knowledge, a hidden sanctuary where wisdom was stored and protected. Some texts appear to have been brought from Central Asia, others from distant European or Mongolian sources, creating a tapestry of cross-cultural preservation. Walking slowly through the cave, one notices the interplay of ice and light. Sunlight filters faintly through openings, illuminating dust motes that drift in the cold air. The ice walls reflect the light in subtle colors, casting gentle shadows across the manuscripts. Each shelf, ledge, and alcove feels deliberate, as if the cave itself were designed to protect and honor the writings it contains. Some scrolls reveal practical knowledge, methods for surviving harsh winters, tracking animal movements, or predicting weather patterns. Others record spiritual practices, meditative exercises, or philosophical reflections on life, death, and the cosmos. Together they form a complex, layered archive, both practical and profound. Consider the people who created and preserved these manuscripts. They moved carefully in the frozen landscape, knowing the value of the texts they carried. Some were monks, scholars, or tribal elders, dedicating their lives to collecting knowledge and protecting it from decay, fire, or theft. Others may have been travelers, merchants, or explorers, who left records of distant lands, languages, and experiences. Each manuscript carries their presence, their intention, and their devotion. The cave itself is not passive. Ice shifts subtly over time, echoing faint sounds of movement. Drips of meltwater fall softly, creating a quiet rhythm. Occasionally, a small gust of wind enters, swirling snowflakes or ice crystals across the floor. The environment reinforces the sense of time suspended, where the manuscripts lie untouched, waiting for discovery. Some of the texts include symbols and writing systems that remain undeciphered. Strange characters, diagrams, and patterns suggest knowledge that may have been lost, encoded, or intentionally hidden. Scholars speculate that these may contain advanced astronomical observations, mathematical concepts, or esoteric spiritual practices. The mystery persists, inviting curiosity without providing easy answers. Imagine sitting quietly on a stone ledge, watching the icy glow play across parchment surfaces. Each manuscript represents hours, days, or years of human thought, a mind reaching across centuries. Some texts describe rituals tied to seasons, lunar cycles, or celestial events. Others are practical manuals, recording methods of hunting, preserving food, or navigating the frozen expanse. Together they form a complex dialogue between human life and the environment. The frozen library is also a reminder of human ingenuity and resilience. In a land where survival is difficult, people still sought to preserve knowledge, art, and culture. They understood the value of information, the power of memory, and the importance of transmission across generations. The manuscripts are not merely objects, they are testaments to human curiosity, care, and foresight. Light, temperature, and atmosphere create a slow rhythm within the cave. Time seems to stretch, inviting careful observation and reflection. As you move through the corridors, noticing the subtle differences in ice, the slight shift in air, the delicate details of the manuscripts, the environment itself becomes part of the story, a silent participant in the preservation of knowledge. Some manuscripts bear illustrations of constellations, tracking stars, planets, and celestial cycles. Others depict animals, plants, or topographical features of distant lands. These drawings are precise, detailed, and sometimes abstract, suggesting an effort to capture knowledge visually, as well as textually. The icy silence amplifies the sense of connection with the past. Each manuscript, scroll, and carving seems to carry echoes of the people who handled them, their hands, their thoughts, their devotion. Even centuries later, the texts convey subtle rhythms of life, patterns of observation, and the intent of human inquiry. The frozen library of Siberia is also a place of preservation against time. Unlike manuscripts exposed to sun, fire, or human interference, the cold acts as a guardian, yet the fragility of parchment, ink, and bark remains a reminder that knowledge is precious, delicate, and always at risk of being lost. Walking through the cave, one notices small details, frost patterns along edges, tiny cracks revealing layers of ice and sediment, shadows falling across carvings. Each element contributes to the atmosphere, creating a space both contemplative and mysterious, a landscape of frozen knowledge waiting to be rediscovered. Even as modern explorers document, photograph, and study the manuscripts, much remains uncertain. The full content, connections between texts, and deeper meanings are still hidden. The library continues to guard its secrets, offering only glimpses, hints, and inspiration to those patient enough to observe. The frozen library is more than a collection of manuscripts. It is a symbol of human perseverance, memory, and reverence for knowledge. It bridges centuries, climates, and cultures, reminding us of the universal desire to understand, record, and share insights about the world. Imagine leaving the cave slowly. The chill of the air, the glimmer of ice, and the weight of centuries remain with you. Outside, Siberia stretches endlessly, pale and silent, but the manuscripts frozen in their sanctuary continue to whisper. They speak not in words alone, but in presence, preservation, and the quiet endurance of human thought. The vanished army of Persia, across the vast arid deserts of Egypt, where the heat shimmers over endless dunes and the horizon seems to stretch forever, there lies a mystery that has puzzled historians for centuries, the story of Cambyses' lost army. This was not merely an army of soldiers, it was a force of ambition, power, and strategy, marching under the command of a Persian king, who sought to expand his empire and claim lands far from home. In the year 525 BCE, Cambyses II, ruler of the Persian Empire, turned his gaze toward Egypt. At that time, Egypt was a land of pharaohs, temples, and fertile valleys along the Nile. Its wealth, resources, and strategic position were irresistible to the ambitions of a distant conqueror, and so he sent a massive army into the desert, a formidable force equipped with cavalry, chariots, and infantry, intending to cross the harsh sands and assert dominance over the lands of the Nile. Imagine the army as it began its march, thousands of soldiers moving in tight formations, horses stamping the dry earth, banners fluttering in the wind. The desert stretches ahead, flat, desolate, and seemingly endless. For days they travel under the relentless sun, guided by scouts and Persian commanders who rely on maps, stars, and the occasional oasis. Water is scarce, and the heat presses down, yet the army pushes forward, driven by duty, discipline, and the ambition of a king. The soldiers of Cambyses' army were experienced, trained, and disciplined. They carried provisions, weapons, and knowledge of desert travel, yet the Sahara is unpredictable. Sandstorms rise suddenly, swallowing the horizon, and the wind reshapes dunes, erasing landmarks and leaving paths unrecognizable. The sun beats down during the day, while nights bring chilling cold. Even the strongest forces are tested, and the desert begins to claim its presence in subtle, insistent ways. Ancient historians, including Herodotus, describe what happened next, though the accounts are fragmentary and at times contradictory. A portion of the army, some claim, became lost in a shifting sea of sand, wandering for days or weeks without clear direction. Oases were missed, supply lines broken, and many soldiers succumbed to thirst, heat, and exhaustion. Those who survived could not find their way back. leaving an entire army vanished without trace, swallowed by the unforgiving desert. Imagine walking through these sands today. The dunes ripple gently under the wind, shifting silently as though hiding secrets beneath their surface. Occasionally, fragments of pottery, rusted metal, or the faint outline of an ancient camp may appear, yet most of the army's remnants remain buried, lost to time, and to nature's slow reclamation. The desert does not hurry, nor does it reveal its mysteries easily. The disappearance of Cambyses's army raises questions that endure to this day. How could such a large, organized force vanish so completely? Were there errors in planning, underestimation of the desert's harshness, or sudden natural events like sandstorms? Some suggest a combination of misfortune, logistics failure, and relentless environment. Others propose that certain records may have been altered or exaggerated, adding layers of legend to historical fact. Archaeologists have sought evidence across the deserts of Egypt and Libya, looking for traces of the vanished soldiers. They examine ancient trade routes, natural depressions that may have served as camps, and riverbeds that might have provided water. While occasional artifacts hint at the army's passage, no definitive mass grave or camp has been discovered. The desert keeps its secrets, leaving a story suspended between history and mystery. The story of Cambyses's lost army is not just about military failure. It speaks to human ambition, vulnerability, and the intersection of civilization with nature. Even the greatest forces, with the finest planning, can falter against environments that operate on scales far larger than human comprehension. The desert is both passive and overwhelming, silent yet capable of erasing evidence, guiding history into ambiguity. Consider the soldiers themselves. Thousands of men, leaving homes, families, and familiar lands behind. They were trained, disciplined, and loyal, yet faced a relentless environment. Some may have wandered for days, others fallen asleep under the stars, never to awaken. Their experiences, fear, exhaustion, hope, and resignation, are lost to history, but the sands themselves bear silent witness. Imagine following the march of the army through shifting dunes. The sun rises, casting long shadows across the sand, and the horizon seems to stretch endlessly. Camel caravans, scouts, and chariots move slowly. Water supplies dwindle, and heat rises. The landscape is unchanging, yet dynamic. Dunes reshape, wind carries grains across surfaces, and the army's progress becomes increasingly difficult to trace. Some scholars speculate that the desert may have been the primary culprit. Shifting sands can bury footprints, tools, and even structures within days or weeks. Ancient maps, if inaccurate, could have sent troops in circles, exhausting supplies. Water, essential for life and survival, could have run out before reaching critical waypoints, and the more the soldiers pushed forward, the more the desert asserted control over their fate. Yet the story also contains hints of heroism and resilience. Accounts suggest that small groups of soldiers may have survived, finding paths back to the Nile or local settlements. Some may have integrated into local communities, sharing knowledge, blending into distant cultures, and preserving fragments of their experiences. These possibilities add depth to the mystery, showing that even in loss, human adaptation persists. Walking through the desert today, one might notice small clues, a scattering of stones arranged in lines, a rusted weapon half buried in sand, or traces of a campsite along a wadi. These remnants are subtle, often overlooked, yet they evoke the presence of the vanished army and the stories of those who marched into oblivion. The disappearance of Cambyses's army also shaped history in profound ways. Egypt remained independent, and the Persian Empire learned the limits of its reach. Stories of the lost soldiers entered local lore, creating tales of caution, respect for the desert, and the fragility of even the most powerful human endeavors. Imagine a cold desert night. Stars stretch across the sky, mirroring the sands below. The wind whispers across dunes, carrying distant echoes of voices, footsteps, and human effort. Somewhere beneath the shifting sands, the army rests in silent anonymity, its story preserved not in stone or scroll, but in memory, imagination, and mystery. The tale of the vanished Persian army is a reminder that nature and time are ultimate forces. Human ambition can inspire, construct, and conquer, yet it can also be humbled, redirected, or erased entirely. The desert does not judge, it endures, silent and eternal, preserving secrets and challenging those who seek to understand them. Even today, travelers, historians, and archaeologists feel the pull of this mystery. Walking along the dunes, imagining the thousands of soldiers who once marched here, one senses the fragility and perseverance of human endeavor. The desert, with its shifting sands and vast horizons, remains both guardian and storyteller, keeping the vanished army suspended between history and legend. The Serpent Stone of Ollantaytambo, high in the rugged Andes of Peru, where steep terraces cling to mountainsides and the air is thin and crisp, lies the ancient town of Ollantaytambo. This place, a marvel of Inca engineering, holds secrets in its stone walls, terraces, and pathways. Among these mysteries is a singular artifact known as the Serpent Stone, a carved monolith that has fascinated historians, archaeologists, and travelers alike. Ollantaytambo itself is remarkable. The terraces rise in precise steps, designed to prevent erosion and support agriculture on steep slopes. Massive stone blocks are fitted together without mortar, some weighing several tons. The layout of streets, plazas, and temples demonstrates advanced planning and an understanding of geometry that continues to impress modern engineers. And within this landscape, the Serpent Stone commands attention. The stone is carved from a single boulder, its surface etched with a winding snake-like figure. The serpent twists and coils, flowing across the stone as if in motion. Despite being frozen in granite, its head is detailed, its body segmented with patterns that seem to convey rhythm or meaning. The symbolism is unmistakable. Serpents in Inca culture were associated with water, fertility, and the connection between earth and underworld. Imagine approaching the Serpent Stone slowly. The morning sun casts long shadows across the terraces. The wind whispers through narrow stone corridors, carrying the scent of earth and grass. The stone itself glows softly in the light, the curves of the serpent appearing alive as the day shifts. It feels as though the mountain holds its breath, guarding a secret that spans centuries. The placement of the Serpent Stone is deliberate. It sits in proximity to water channels, terraces, and ceremonial spaces, suggesting that it was not merely decorative. Scholars have speculated that it may have been used to track water flow, marking the paths where rainfall or snowmelt would be channeled to crops. Others suggest a ceremonial purpose, aligning with solar events or lunar phases, acting as a sacred marker within the Inca cosmology. Walking among the terraces, one notices the precision of the stonework. Massive boulders are interlocked seamlessly, steps and platforms rise in calculated increments, and every structure seems designed to last. Against this backdrop, the Serpent Stone takes on additional significance. It is both artistic and functional, spiritual and practical, a testament to Inca ingenuity and reverence for the natural world. The serpent itself evokes transformation. In many cultures, including the Inca, serpents represent cycles of life, renewal, and the movement of energy. The winding pattern of the carving may have symbolized rivers, the flow of underground water, or the paths of spiritual energy connecting the living and the sacred. Observing the stone, one senses an understanding of natural patterns that transcends the purely physical. Imagine the people who created the Serpent Stone. Artisans carved the granite with tools of bronze and stone, laboring patiently to follow curves that demand both skill and vision. Priests or local leaders may have guided the process, ensuring that the symbolism aligned with celestial patterns, ritual calendars, or agricultural cycles. Every groove, curve, and indentation carried meaning, a language written in stone rather than ink. The surrounding landscape amplifies the effect. Terraces catch sunlight at different times of day, shadows shift across walls, and the Serpent Stone's form interacts with the mountains and sky. Rainfall fills channels that may have been studied and predicted by Inca engineers. The movement of clouds, wind, and water adds dynamic context to the otherwise static stone, creating a living connection between artifact and environment. Some scholars propose that the Serpent Stone served as an educational tool. Farmers, apprentices, or novices may have observed the carving to understand water flow, seasonal changes, or ritual practices. Its visual form could communicate complex ideas simply and memorably, blending practicality with sacred symbolism. Walking slowly across the site today, one can imagine the layers of human presence over centuries. Inca citizens worked the terraces, carried stones, and tended crops. Priests and leaders performed ceremonies, invoking protection, fertility, and guidance from the gods. Travelers and envoys passed through, observing, recording, and perhaps contributing to the collective knowledge embedded in stone and earth. The Serpent Stone has endured through earthquakes, weather, and human activity. Its carvings remain clear, though softened by centuries of wind and rain. Its presence continues to invite curiosity, meditation, and appreciation. Scholars study it, travelers photograph it, and locals share stories about its meaning and significance. Yet some of its secrets remain elusive, as if the mountain itself guards the full truth. Imagine a quiet afternoon at Ollantaytambo. The sun dips toward the horizon, illuminating terraces in gold and amber. The wind carries the soft rustle of grass, distant birdsong, and the faint trickle of water through channels. Standing before the Serpent Stone, one feels the rhythm of centuries, the labor, devotion, and insight of the Inca, preserved in granite and in memory. The serpent continues to coil across the stone, silent yet expressive. It reminds observers of cycles, water and rain, life and death, human effort and natural forces. Its artistry is both symbolic and functional, bridging the gap between practical knowledge and spiritual insight. It embodies the harmony the Inca sought between humans and mountains, agriculture and ritual, sky and earth. Even after centuries, the Serpent Stone inspires reflection. Archaeologists and historians seek to understand its full meaning. Travelers sense its presence and ponder its origin. and through it the culture and intelligence of the Inca speak quietly, revealing lessons about observation, patience, and connection with the natural world. The terraces, temples, and channels surrounding the stone enhance its context. They form a network that demonstrates deliberate planning, knowledge of hydraulics, and awareness of solar and lunar cycles. The serpent stone, central to this network, functions as a nexus, a guide, a symbol, and a preserved narrative of Inca life. Walking among the ruins as evening approaches, shadows stretch, and the stone glows softly. The air cools, birds settle in trees, and the terraces gradually quiet. Observers can trace the curves of the serpent, imagining hands at work centuries ago, shaping granite with patience, skill, and reverence. The stone continues its silent lesson, a testament to Inca ingenuity and sacred awareness. The serpent stone of Ollantaytambo is more than a carving. It is an intersection of art, engineering, spirituality, and observation. It reminds us of the intimate connection the Inca had with the mountains, water, and cycles of life. Its presence endures, inviting reflection, curiosity, and appreciation of human endeavor. Even today, travelers who explore Ollantaytambo feel the weight of history, the ingenuity of its creators, and the mystery preserved in stone. The serpent stone continues to coil across time, whispering its story in silence, inviting anyone who watches carefully to imagine, reflect, and understand a civilization that revered knowledge, nature, and harmony. The caves of the Whispering Buddha, along the banks of the Yi River in China. In the province of Henan, a hillside rises quietly, adorned with countless carvings, sculptures, and chambers. This is the Longmen Grottos, a vast complex of caves that have held sacred statues for more than a millennium. Among these carvings, stories, and serene faces lies a subtle mystery, whispered through time, the Whispering Buddha. The grottos themselves are a marvel. Tens of thousands of statues are carved into limestone cliffs, from tiny figures no taller than a hand to colossal Buddhas towering over 20 meters. Niches, halls, and tunnels wind through the rock, their walls inscribed with prayers, sutras, and intricate designs. As you move deeper into these caves, the scale of devotion becomes apparent, and a sense of calm settles gently, like a river of centuries flowing silently beneath your feet. Imagine entering one of the quieter caves. The air is cooler here, carrying the faint scent of limestone and centuries-old incense. Your footsteps echo softly against the stone floor. Statues of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas line the walls, their faces serene, eyes half closed, expressions carved to suggest endless patience. Somewhere in the chamber, a faint trickle of water resonates, adding to the hushed atmosphere, almost like the echo of a whisper. The Whispering Buddha is not a single figure, but a series of carvings that together seem to communicate a gentle presence. Some believe that the placement of these figures was deliberate, designed so that the acoustics of the cave carry the faint sound of wind, footsteps, or voices, giving the impression that the Buddha is quietly whispering wisdom. The effect is subtle, a soft suggestion rather than a shout, and it requires patience and attention to perceive. Walking slowly along the corridors, one notices the remarkable skill of the artisans. Carved over centuries, the statues are finely detailed. Drapery folds, serene expressions, and subtle gestures demonstrate extraordinary craftsmanship. Each figure was created not only as a symbol of devotion, but as a guide, a representation of spiritual presence within the rocky landscape. The caves were built gradually, beginning during the late Northern Wei dynasty and continuing through the Tang dynasty. Generations of monks, artisans, and patrons contributed to the complex. Each edition reflected contemporary artistic styles, religious priorities, and cultural influences. Even subtle differences in carving technique or expression tell stories about the people, their beliefs, and their environment. Imagine tracing a hand along the smooth limestone surface of a statue, noting the curves of robes, the gentle arch of a smile, and the small inscriptions that often accompany the figures. These inscriptions contain prayers, dedications, or historical records, messages from the past carried into the present, preserved in stone. Some caves feature colossal Buddhas that dominate the chamber, their size designed to evoke awe and reverence. Others house smaller, more intimate carvings, arranged carefully along walls or in niches that catch natural light in unexpected ways. Shadows shift across the surfaces, emphasizing depth, shape, and expression. Light and shadow work together as partners in storytelling, revealing detail gradually, much like the uncovering of knowledge through careful observation. The Whispering Buddha is connected not only to physical space, but to sound. Certain chambers amplify even the quietest noises, a breath, a soft murmur, or the distant drip of water. Ancient architects may have intentionally designed the caves this way, creating spaces where sound becomes part of the spiritual experience. The effect is subtle but profound, suggesting that devotion and environment were intertwined. Many of the inscriptions reveal philosophical and spiritual teachings. Stories of compassion, wisdom, and perseverance are etched into the stone, sometimes paired with intricate patterns or symbolic imagery. Dragons, lotus flowers, celestial beings, and animals populate the walls, reinforcing lessons and providing visual cues to complement textual messages. The caves also serve as a record of history. Names, dates, donations, and events were recorded by patrons and monks. Through these details, scholars can trace changes in society, religion, and artistic technique over centuries. Each carving is a window into a culture, a people, and their evolving understanding of spirituality. Walking through the grottos today, one can imagine the lives of those who built, maintained, and worshipped within them. Monks chanting in low rhythmic tones, artisans carving long hours, pilgrims moving reverently through the corridors, all layers of human presence captured in stone. The atmosphere is both serene and profound, offering a quiet connection across time. The Whispering Buddha teaches patience. Its subtlety requires close observation, mindful attention, and a willingness to move slowly. Unlike louder monuments or larger-than-life statues, the experience of noticing these quiet forms is gentle, unfolding gradually, much like the process of learning or understanding. Natural forces also play a role. Light filters differently throughout the day, creating shifting shadows and highlights. Water seeps through cracks, forming tiny stalactites or trickles that amplify quiet sounds. Temperature and airflow subtly shape the experience, contributing to the sense that the cave itself is alive, responsive, and observant. Imagine pausing in front of a smaller carving, noticing the way the lips curve slightly, the hands rest gently, the eyes hint at a smile or a lesson. This is the Whispering Buddha, not shouting truth, but suggesting it quietly, inviting reflection, thought, and subtle connection. Even centuries later, visitors report a sense of calm, a feeling that the caves carry memory, attention, and intention. The Whispering Buddha does not demand engagement, it offers it gently, allowing each observer to experience the subtle interaction at their own pace. The Longmen Grottos, with thousands of statues and inscriptions, form a complex network of spiritual, artistic, and historical meaning. The Whispering Buddha is part of this network, a quiet guide amidst the grandeur, drawing attention to subtlety, detail, and patience. As evening approaches and light fades, the caves take on a different character. Shadows deepen, details become softer, and the atmosphere grows hushed. Standing in the center of a chamber, the echo of a single breath, or the distant drip of water can seem magnified. The effect is a profound awareness of time, space, and the enduring presence of human devotion. The Whispering Buddha reminds us that not all stories demand loudness. Some are quiet, persistent, and require attentive observation. They teach in subtle ways, encourage reflection, and invite a slow, thoughtful approach. The carvings, inscriptions, and soundscape together create an environment where the past and present coexist, where mystery and devotion are intertwined. Walking out of the grottos as night falls, the hillside seems quieter, yet alive with echoes of centuries. The statues remain, silent yet expressive, continuing to whisper their lessons, histories, and mysteries to anyone willing to listen carefully. The caves of Longmen, and the Whispering Buddha within them, are not merely relics or monuments. They are living records of faith, artistry, and human effort. Their presence endures, inviting curiosity, reflection, and appreciation, patiently waiting for those who approach slowly, attentively, and with respect for the long passage of time. The Codex of Hidden Stars. Deep in the dense jungles of Central America, where sunlight filters through towering ceiba trees and vines twist along stone ruins, a remarkable artifact remains, quietly preserving knowledge from a civilization long past. This is the Codex of Hidden Stars, a Mayan manuscript filled with astronomical observations, rituals, and mysteries that have captivated scholars and explorers alike. The Mayans were masters of the sky. Long before telescopes or modern calendars, they studied the stars with meticulous precision. They observed patterns, cycles, and alignments, understanding the movement of celestial bodies and their influence on life, agriculture, and ritual. The codices they created were more than records. They were tools for interpreting the universe, written in symbols, glyphs, and diagrams. Imagine gently opening one of these fragile manuscripts. The pages are made of bark paper, carefully prepared and folded into an accordion-like structure. Inked glyphs run along each fold, depicting celestial events, gods, and intricate symbols. Even the smallest mark carries meaning, a silent guide for those trained to read the patterns. The paper crackles softly under careful handling, as if whispering its secrets across centuries. The Codex of Hidden Stars contains calendars that track the movements of Venus, the moon, and distant constellations. It records eclipses, solstices, and equinoxes with remarkable accuracy. Each entry is linked to rituals, ceremonies, and agricultural planning, showing how closely Mayan life was intertwined with the cosmos. Observing the Codex is like witnessing a civilization thinking through the stars, mapping time and space with a combination of artistry and science. Walking slowly through the pages, one notices the detailed illustrations. Celestial bodies are drawn with precision, while gods and deities interact with them in symbolic ways. Patterns of lines and dots suggest movement, cycles, and relationships between planets and stars. Some sections are almost abstract, hinting at knowledge that may have been encoded to protect sacred information or ensure it was understood only by trained priests and astronomers. The codex also reflects Mayan philosophical thought. The heavens were not separate from human life. They were intimately connected. Predictions, divinations, and rituals, guided by celestial observation, influenced decisions from planting maize to choosing auspicious dates for ceremonies. The codex is a bridge between observation and belief, recording both the practical and spiritual dimensions of the stars. Imagine the scribe who created this codex. Working with care, ink, and natural pigments, they translated observations into symbols, blending science, art, and religion. Each stroke was deliberate, meant to convey information across generations. The codex became a living document, carrying knowledge forward even as civilizations shifted. Forests grew over cities, and centuries passed. The survival of the codex is extraordinary. Many Mayan manuscripts were lost, destroyed during conquest, or decayed in the humid climate of the jungle. Yet this one endured, protected by careful handling, perhaps secret storage, or sheer chance. Its fragility adds to its aura, reminding us that knowledge is precious, and often precarious, preserved only through human effort and respect. Some glyphs remain undeciphered. They hint at knowledge lost to time, ideas that may have encompassed advanced astronomy, ritual theory, or even concepts we are only beginning to understand today. The codex, therefore, is both a record and a puzzle, inviting careful attention, study, and imagination. Walking through the hypothetical environment of the ancient city where this codex was used, one can imagine Mayan priests observing the night sky, noting patterns, predicting eclipses, and guiding ceremonies. They taught apprentices, passed on wisdom, and used the codex as a reference, a guide, and a sacred object. It was not just a book, it was a tool, a classroom, and a spiritual instrument. Consider the rhythms of Mayan life. Agriculture, astronomy, ritual, and governance were intertwined. The codex informed planting seasons, religious observances, and even social events. Its information was practical and sacred, blending observation of the world with interpretation of the divine. Every glyph carries layers of meaning, intended for readers attuned to both. Imagine tracing your finger along the folds of the manuscript. Patterns emerge, a cluster of stars, a planetary alignment, a ritual depiction. Each fold invites careful observation, slow reading, and reflection. In this way, the codex is both educational and contemplative, guiding not only action but understanding. The Codex of Hidden Stars also preserves stories. Some pages depict mythological events tied to celestial movements. Gods interact with planets and constellations, battles are fought in the sky, and cosmic order is maintained. These stories are not mere fables, they are encoded knowledge, weaving together science, philosophy, and theology in a tapestry that reflects the Mayan worldview. Even today, researchers study the codex with magnifying lenses, infrared imaging, and careful interpretation. Each discovery reveals new insights, but mysteries remain. Undeciphered sections, cryptic diagrams, and unusual glyphs hint at layers of understanding lost over centuries. The codex continues to speak, quietly, waiting for patient attention. Imagine the jungle around the codex. Dense vegetation, chirping birds, and the distant flow of a river create a backdrop for contemplation. The environment is intertwined with human activity, temples, observatories, and ceremonial plazas nearby. The codex is a snapshot of this interconnected world, linking the heavens, the land, and the people who observed, recorded, and revered the stars. The Codex of Hidden Stars reminds us that knowledge can be meticulous, patient, and deeply integrated into everyday life. It teaches careful observation, the value of recording patterns, and the importance of connecting human experience with natural cycles. Its presence endures as a testament to curiosity, discipline, and reverence for the cosmos. Even as the jungle grows over ancient cities, the codex remains. Scholars, students, and explorers who handle it feel the weight of centuries, the precision of observation, and the dedication of those who recorded knowledge for future generations. Its quiet persistence invites reflection, imagination, and slow, deliberate attention. The Mayan Codex is more than paper and ink. It is a dialogue across time. It connects those who created it with those who study it now, linking human observation, art, and understanding of the universe. Each fold, glyph, and illustration is a layer of insight, preserved for centuries and still capable of inspiring wonder. As night falls in the jungle, stars emerge overhead, echoing the patterns in the codex. The light of Venus, the moon, and distant constellations mirrors the careful recordings of Mayan astronomers. The Codex of Hidden Stars, though silent, continues to speak across time, reminding us of human curiosity, the rhythm of the cosmos, and the enduring connection between observation, record, and reflection. The singing bells of Angkor, Deep in the dense forests of Cambodia, where the morning mist drifts over moss-covered stones and the calls of exotic birds echo through the trees, lies the ancient city of Angkor Wat. Among its towering spires, intricate bas-reliefs, and silent corridors, a subtle and extraordinary phenomenon waits quietly for those who pause and listen: the singing bells. Angkor Wat is more than a temple. It is a vast monumental complex built to honor the gods and the kings who commissioned it. Its walls are adorned with thousands of carvings, telling stories of mythology, daily life, and devotion. Its towers reach skyward, reflecting the union of heaven and earth. And yet amid this grandeur, the bells, bronze, aged and resonant, produce a sound that seems almost magical. The singing bells are not like ordinary bells. Carved inscriptions suggest they were created with careful attention to tone and resonance. When struck, they do not merely clang, they sing, producing tones that linger, harmonize with the environment, and seem to resonate with the stone architecture of the temple itself. The sound is soft, carrying an echo that makes the air vibrate subtly, as if the forest and temple themselves are joining in the music. Imagine walking through a quiet gallery in Angkor Wat. Sunlight filters through narrow openings, casting golden patterns on ancient stone. The air is warm and still, yet faint vibrations fill the space as a bell is struck. The sound travels through the corridors, brushing against bas-reliefs, and mingling with the soft rustle of leaves outside. It is an invitation to pause, to breathe slowly, and to notice the delicate interplay between stone, air, and sound. The bells are thought to have been used in ceremonial contexts, calling monks, marking sacred time, or signaling transitions in ritual practices. Each bell is tuned slightly differently, and some are arranged in groups to produce subtle harmonies. Ancient artisans may have observed the natural acoustics of the temple and surrounding forest, understanding how sound carries, echoes, and interacts with stone surfaces. Walking among the bells, one notices the craftsmanship. Bronze is carefully cast, engraved, and polished. Symbols and inscriptions decorate their surfaces, conveying blessings, prayers, or dedications. Some bells feature figures of deities, mythological creatures, or patterns reflecting the flow of water, wind, and energy. Each element is deliberate, merging artistic beauty with spiritual function. Imagine a monk gently striking a bell at dawn. The tone rises softly, lingering in the still morning air. Birds quiet, leaves tremble slightly in the vibration, and the temple seems to awaken, responding to the sound. The melody is subtle, almost hypnotic, drawing attention to the smallest details of architecture, carving, and space. It encourages slow observation and presence, a kind of meditative listening that aligns with human rhythm and thought. Some scholars suggest the bells may have also served as navigational or timing instruments. Their tones could guide movement through the temple complex, mark intervals in ritual, or even synchronize human activity with the natural cycles of day and night. The sound interacts with both people and environment, blending practical function with aesthetic and spiritual resonance. Walking further into the temple complex, one sees clusters of bells hanging in chambers, suspended by wooden beams, their positions carefully chosen. Sunlight filters through openings, highlighting dust motes that drift lazily in the warm light. The combination of light, shadow, and soft vibration from the bells creates an environment of quiet reflection, where attention slows and senses sharpen. The singing bells also demonstrate the ingenuity of ancient Khmer metallurgy. Bronze casting required skill, precision, and understanding of materials. Bell makers knew how to achieve specific frequencies, how to prevent cracks, and how to shape inscriptions without compromising resonance. Each bell is a product of knowledge, patience, and deliberate experimentation. Imagine standing beneath a tall bell tower as sunlight falls at an angle. The stone surfaces capture light and shadow. The air vibrates with the hum of a struck bell, and the surrounding forest seems to hold its breath. The effect is almost magical, an intersection of human craftsmanship, natural acoustics, and environmental harmony that continues to inspire centuries later. The history of Angkor Wat is intertwined with these bells. Constructed in the 12th century under King Surya Varman II, the temple complex became a center of religion, administration, and culture. Bells would have marked the rhythm of daily life, signaling times for prayer, ceremonies, or labor. Their sound guided human activity and connected it to the sacred architecture of the temple. Even today, the singing bells invite curiosity and contemplation. Visitors report a sense of calm when listening to them, as though the tones align subtly with their breathing and thought patterns. The experience is immersive yet gentle, allowing focus to drift naturally, attention to deepen, and awareness to expand slowly. Walking through Angkor Wat at dusk, the temperature cools, shadows lengthen, and the air hums with a combination of distant wildlife and the lingering resonance of the bells. In this environment, history feels present, tangible, and alive. The bells are not only instruments but storytellers, preserving centuries of devotion, artistry, and understanding of sound. The inscriptions on the bells sometimes hint at broader cultural narratives, gods, cosmic cycles, and human responsibilities. The combination of symbolic meaning and physical resonance creates a layered experience. Sound, space, and story merge, providing insight into Khmer culture, spirituality, and the integration of human activity with sacred architecture. Imagine striking a small bronze bell yourself. The tone rises, delicate and sustained, echoing through the chamber. You feel a connection to the artisans who crafted it, the monks who rang it for centuries, and the forest and stone that have absorbed its sound. Each vibration carries history, culture, and intention, a tangible thread linking past and present. The singing bells of Angkor Wat remind us that sound, like time, can be enduring, subtle, and profound. They teach patience, observation, and appreciation for the ways humans interact with environment, material, and ritual. Their song continues quietly, a dialogue across centuries, resonating not just in air but in thought, memory, and imagination. As night approaches and shadows deepen, the bells take on a softer, mysterious quality. Light fades, and the forest around the temple grows still. Standing among the suspended bronze instruments, one can feel the passage of centuries, the dedication of artisans, and the reverence of those who listened before. The singing bells continue to hum silently, carrying stories, devotion, and history across time. Even without striking, their presence is tangible, a reminder of harmony between human craftsmanship, environment, and spiritual purpose. The temple, the forest, and the bells form a unified whole, offering a quiet invitation to slow down, reflect, and connect with the rhythm of the past. The cloak of the Sun Priest, high in the Andean mountains of Peru, where jagged peaks rise sharply against the sky, and the air carries the crisp scent of stone and grass. The Inca civilization left behind countless treasures. Among these, one artifact stands out, not merely for its beauty, but for the layers of culture, devotion, and mystery it embodies. The cloak of the Sun Priest. The cloak itself is remarkable, woven from fine camelid fibers, dyed with vibrant colors extracted from natural plants, insects, and minerals. It glows even centuries later, a testament to the skill and knowledge of its creators. Gold threads, delicate and precise, are embedded along the borders, forming patterns that depict solar symbols, sacred animals, and geometric motifs. Each line carries meaning, a silent language of spirituality, astronomy, and authority. Imagine holding the cloak carefully, feeling the softness of fibers under your fingertips. The weave is intricate, the patterns complex. Every thread seems intentional, not merely decoration but communication. These were not casual garments, they were ceremonial tools, worn by priests to conduct rituals, honor deities, and maintain cosmic balance. The Sun Priest, draped in this cloak, would have been both a spiritual and social figure, bridging human society with the divine order represented by Inti, the sun god. The sun was central to Inca cosmology. Inti governed agriculture, life cycles, and seasonal rhythms. The cloak's imagery reflects this reverence, showing concentric circles, radiant rays, and animals associated with solar energy. Worn during ceremonies, the cloak acted as both armor and emblem, amplifying the priest's connection to the sun and signaling sacred authority to all who witnessed the rituals. Imagine a high-altitude temple at sunrise. Mist drifts over stone terraces, and the first rays of sunlight pierce through clouds. The sun priest steps into the open courtyard, the cloak shimmering, gold threads catching the light. Every movement is deliberate, every gesture steeped in meaning. The cloak moves with the priest, almost as if alive, an extension of his body, his role, and his sacred duty. The patterns on the cloak are not random. Spirals may represent cycles of time, the rise and fall of the sun, or celestial paths. Geometric motifs encode cosmological knowledge, aligning the wearer with seasonal changes and solar events. Some scholars believe these designs were mnemonic devices, helping priests recall ritual sequences, astronomical observations, or ceremonial steps. Imagine the artisans who created the cloak. They worked for weeks, perhaps months, spinning fibers, dyeing threads, and weaving intricate designs. Every choice, color, stitch, and placement carried symbolic weight. The craft was both technical and spiritual, blending precision, devotion, and an understanding of nature's materials. The cloak was not just clothing, it was a sacred record in textile form, a living repository of Inca knowledge. The cloak also reflects social hierarchy. Only a priest of high rank, one who understood ritual, astronomy, and the will of Inti, would wear it. It marked the individual as a bridge between humanity and the divine, and through its symbolism, reinforced the structure of Inca society, where each person had a role in maintaining cosmic and earthly balance. As you imagine the ceremony, you can almost hear the sounds of the ritual, the rhythmic beating of drums, the soft rustle of fabric, the murmur of chants, and the echo of voices calling to the sun. The cloak absorbs and reflects this environment, its colors shifting subtly in light and shadow, emphasizing the connection between human action, material, and divine presence. Walking slowly through historical context, One understands that cloaks like this were often buried with priests or carefully preserved in temples. They carried both earthly and spiritual significance, functioning as ceremonial garments, historical records, and symbols of cosmic alignment. Archaeologists have found fragments in tombs, each piece revealing insight into symbolism, technique, and religious practice. Even today, the cloak of the Sun Priest inspires awe. Museums, researchers, and travelers who observe it are struck not only by its visual beauty, but by the layers of human thought embedded within the threads. Its survival through centuries is remarkable, given the fragility of textiles and the harsh conditions of the Andes. Each thread that remains speaks of careful handling, reverence, and continuity of culture. Imagine examining the patterns closely. You notice spirals that mimic the sun's path, zigzags reflecting mountain ridges, and animals representing solar qualities. Each element is deliberate, combining art, ritual, and cosmology. It is a story woven into fibers, an ongoing dialogue between creator, wearer, and observer across time. The cloak also connects to broader Inca practices, ceremonies in sun temples, offerings atop mountain peaks, and seasonal festivals all relied on symbols like those on the cloak. Wearing it, the sun priest became an embodiment of celestial order, a living representation of the cycles that governed agriculture, religion, and social life. Walking through imagination, one might picture the high-altitude terraces glowing under sunrise light, the priest's cloak shimmering, gold threads catching every ray. The sound of wind through stone corridors and terraces adds a subtle resonance, accompanying movement, ritual, and reflection. This interplay between material, light, and space is central to the cloak's significance, enhancing both visual and experiential impact. The cloak of the Sun Priest reminds us that clothing can be much more than fabric. It can embody knowledge, power, and spiritual insight. It can connect generations, preserving the understanding of a people and their relationship with the world around them. Through its threads, patterns, and symbolism, the cloak carries centuries of observation, artistry, and devotion. Even now, centuries later, standing before the cloak, whether in a museum, archive, or imagined reconstruction, one can sense the hands that wove it, the ceremonies it adorned, and the mountains it observed. It is a testament to human skill, creativity, and the capacity to embed meaning in every material choice. The cloak of the Sun Priest is enduring. It teaches patience, reverence, and the importance of connecting with the rhythms of nature. It carries lessons about alignment, observation, and respect for cosmic order. Its colors, patterns, and textures preserve knowledge, echoing across time as a silent teacher, a historical artifact, and a symbol of devotion. As the sun rises and falls in the Andes, the cloak continues to speak softly across centuries. It tells of mountains, priests, rituals, and people who lived in harmony with the sun. It reminds observers that knowledge, skill, and devotion can be intertwined into a single object, a garment that carries history, wisdom, and wonder across generations.